have a little look at that. Let me see if I can find it first. Go over here, click on this. Here it is. So we've got Roosh against Bryan Danielson, MJF against Takeshita. We've got the Garcia Sammy Guevara gauntlet. We've got the Elite taking on Top Flight and AR Fox. That is for the AEW World Trios titles. We've got the Acclaimed taking on the Guns for the AEW World Tag titles. And then we've got a title eliminator between Jamie Hayter and the Bunny. So, I mean, look, with star powers there. Danielson, Jericho, MJF, Jamie Hayter, who's awesome. The Elite. So, you know, like, star power's not bad. It feels all right. It feels all right. I'm not really bothered. I think, to be honest, some of this is a bit predictable. So, like, Danielson's getting past Roosh. I think the Elite are definitely beating Top Flight. I think Jamie Hayter's definitely getting past the Bunny. I would imagine Starks will run the gauntlet successfully. I would imagine. Acclaimed are going to beat the Guns. MJF, Takeshita, I mean, it might be that Takeshita gets the win there, and then we end up getting, like, the title match, and then, of course, Takeshita's going to lose. So, look, I mean, like, star power-wise, I think this card is good. I think there's some title matches to look forward to tonight. You might just argue it's a little predictable, but to be honest, I mean, we're not going to know that until after the show has finished, are we? But, yeah, star power is there tonight, which is good to see. What we don't have, though, is we don't have a chat. So let's see if we can get that going on screen. Let me grab that and add that on screen. Where is this? Here we go. Bang. Bang. There he is. Nice. Jojo, shout out to you. Hope you are well. Brandon said LeBron James is going to become the NBA all-time leading scorer, surpassing Kareem. What, tonight is that happening? I haven't heard anything like this. All the news at the moment I'm seeing about American sports is to do with the Super Bowl. Obviously, the Super Bowl coming up, and we are going to be looking to do that. I've been asked about that, and we will do that on the second channel. So we'll jump over there and do the Super Bowl. So we are doing the Super Bowl on Sunday. We are doing UFC on Saturday. Of course, we're doing SmackDown on Friday. We do have a members stream that we're doing tomorrow as well. So we are doing a members stream. And I've said, like, you know, send in your clips, video clips, audio clips. We'll play those on the members stream. We can react to them, talk about your theories. I understand that a lot of people have got, obviously, like, you know, thoughts on wrestling, of course, hence why you're here. And obviously, like, there's only so much you can put into the chat, unfortunately. I kind of like the idea of the members stream allowing members more of an opportunity to get their points across. I was kind of thinking, like, what's the best way to do the members stream? And I was thinking, like, well, I can't imagine people want to hear me talk any more than they already have to. So maybe we just switch it over and throw it over to you guys a bit more. So email is open, and it's a case that you can send your video clips, audio clips over. And I think that's pretty cool. I think that'll be pretty fun. So looking forward to that. We're doing that tomorrow, which could become a regular thing. But it depends really how tomorrow goes. I mean, if people are into it, then we can look to do more of it, of course. Matt, shout out to you. Says, you are the best. You are a great person. Matt, appreciate it. I got to say, Matt, you've massively inspired those member streams returning, because obviously your kind generosity has meant that a lot of people are members now. And I want to make sure that we're catering to the members. And yeah, so shout out to you, Matt. Really appreciate the support. Matt, you didn't need to do that, Matt. I didn't say this so that you would do that. You've already done enough, Matt, so you didn't need to do it again, buds. But shout out to you, and I think you've won the hearts of this community, Matt, because there's a lot of people that are members now that might not have been. And as we said, we're going to bring the members thing back or like starting from tomorrow. So big shout out to Matt. Matt has massively inspired the return of those. So it's really appreciated, dude. It's really appreciated. It all goes obviously back into the channel and keeping the lights on. So, right, what do we need to talk about? We need to talk about, what do we need to talk about? We need to talk about a few things, but one thing is that apparently Alexa Bliss is going to be away for a while. Don't know if you've heard this news, but Alexa is going to be gone and seemingly has already gone for a little bit. We don't know how long for. We don't know how long she's gone for, but there is a report doing the rounds that she is expected to be staying away now. So every time we get to like a Raw, we're waiting to see kind of, is Alexa going to be on there? We're going to get an Uncle Howdy. Apparently we're not. And we may see her at Elimination Chamber. It might just be that she's gone between Rumble and Elimination Chamber. But this article I read sort of suggested she was going to be gone longer. So I don't know. I sort of feel like, I don't know what we're doing here. Like, we've just done this big story with her and Uncle Howdy. And now she's gone away. Timing-wise, it might work, because if she comes back and she's, like, different, you know, it could still work. It's just a weird thing to, like, build and then have her go away. So it's a little bit strange, to be honest. But I thought that was interesting. That's one of the more interesting things that I read today. The other thing as well, of course, many of you will already know, Jerry the King Lawler is on the road to recovery, which is great to see. Fantastic pictures. There was problems with Twitter today, so you couldn't send tweets out, or I couldn't. It kept saying that I'd reached my limit, so it didn't allow me to send tweets out. So I did try to send one out about Jerry Lawler, because there's fantastic pictures of him in hospital on the mend, looking at old wrestling pics with Jimmy Hart. And it's brilliant. I mean, it's just great to see him in seemingly, well, clearly not good health, but better than what I think you mentally picture. Like, the mental image I had of Jerry not being very responsive, being in a bad place, that was not a great mental picture that I had. To actually see an image of him sat up in bed, smile on his face, looking at old wrestling pictures, like, it was really great to see. So, and can we just say how much of a gem Jimmy Hart is? Like, Jimmy Hart is such a wonderful soul, such a wonderful person. Like, every time I hear him talk in interviews, I don't know that I've ever heard him badmouth anyone. Anyone that does interviews about Jimmy Hart always have got nothing but kind words to say about him. Like, this guy is just one of the nicest souls, like, in wrestling. And the reason why we're saying that is because who was visiting Jerry the King Lawler, who took round those pictures of the wrestling things for him to look at, who is there in Jerry Lawler's hour of needs? Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart in the hospital, visiting his old friends. Guys, I looked at it and I was like, do you know what? I love everything about this. I love the picture. I love the fact that Jerry Lawler is on the mend. I love the fact that Jimmy Hart just seems like the nicest person that's ever lived. Like, this is proper, wholesome wrestling content. There's really not much to not like about this. It's just really, really positive, really good stuff. And yeah, I was loving it, man. So I wanted to send a tweet out about that, just saying exactly that. Like, this is wholesome wrestling content. I love everything about this, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, Twitter's like, you've reached your limit. And I was like, huh? I haven't even tweeted today. And I looked, I did a quick Google search. Apparently your limit is 500 tweets a day. I was like, okay, I might have forgot if I've sent one. I have not forgot that I've sent 500. And then quickly I saw that there was plenty of people talking about how Twitter's down and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been pretty wild, to be honest. So I've just been doing some other bits and bobs. I edited the Wrestling Escape pod, which went up not that long ago. I hope people enjoyed that if you checked it out. It took me a little while to edit that and just put a few little bits in there. A few pictures and whatever, just to make that look good. So did that, got that uploaded, obviously set the stream up, still doing loads of stuff behind the scenes for future videos and everything. So yeah, I've just been... keep him busy, really. Keep him busy. But there's not loads in the way of wrestling news, to be honest. The bits that I've got written down is Tony expects big new AEW, lucrative AEW deal. Don Callis apparently rubbed people the wrong way in WWE when he was there, and Alexa Bliss taking time off. James said Twitter is broken again. Matt says, you are welcome. You are the best. That's really kind, Matt. Really, really kind, buds. As I said, you don't need to keep doing it. You don't need to keep doing it. It's greatly appreciated, and looking forward to doing the members stream tomorrow. Yeah, he is cool. I met Ric Flair. Miss Clown, hello. Shout out to you. Hassan, hello. Eric said, looks like me and my brother are going to go to SummerSlam if we can get tickets. Hope Undertaker will bring his one dead man show to Detroit. Yes. Yeah, that show's been getting a lot of praise. I can only imagine like some of the stories that he's got and things that he talks about in that show. I mean, I bet it is fantastic. I think you can pay a bit extra to like meet him as well, but I mean, when I say a bit, it's considerable. But I mean, it's great that you've got that sort of option. Do you know what I mean? So I know a few people that have done it, that have met him. It does cost money, a lot of money to do. But yeah, I suppose maybe something for the old bucket list. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know who I would want to meet, to be honest. Quite often when I go to like conventions, I will always look to see what wrestlers are there. But I mean, you've really got to be someone that's made a mark on me for me to, I think, want to meet them. Because they always say, don't meet your heroes, don't they? Like if you're someone that I appreciate, probably not going to run the risk of you being a bit of a div and being a bit off with me, because, oh man, that would just ruin things, wouldn't it? Imagine if you met someone, they were just like really awful. Like that would just be awful. So I don't want to really run that risk, really, for someone that if I don't end up meeting them, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? But there's probably some people that I feel like Asuka. I really want to meet Asuka. I would be upset if she was off, but I just don't think she would be. I can't imagine Asuka would be off. You hear loads of stories about different wrestlers being that way. And I suppose, it's life, innit? If you've been at a place, a convention all day, and you're like towards the end of the day, you're feeling a bit tired. Maybe someone said something that's wound you up as well. Maybe you're just not in a good mood. So, that's playing on your mind. You're a little bit tired, like you've had enough. You just want to go. Like, I can imagine them not being all smiles at that point, So maybe you just catch people at the wrong times. But thankfully, I've never really had any bad experiences with meeting any wrestlers. Thankfully. But yeah, I think Asuka, I feel like Asuka would probably be the one I'd want to meet the most. But what is the card for tonight? We broke it down earlier. Oh, Billy Kay. Yes, James, you're right. I'd love to meet Billy. Oh, God, that would be good. That would be good. The only thing is she's doing all the modeling like stuff now. Any time I see any images of her on Twitter, she's normally not wearing very much, which, fair play. Obviously, I've got no issue with, but I wouldn't want to meet her like that. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to meet her while she was like posing and like being all like this. I'd want her in a Billy Kay attire with the resume. That's the one I want to meet. So yeah, Asuka would be good. Billy Kay, as long as she was Billy Kay, that would be good. Do you know, I always think that about Hogan. I keep looking at pictures of Hogan and I keep thinking, like, if I was to meet Hulk Hogan, I would really want him to be Hulkamania Hogan. I know many people love him being like, NWO and in the black, like, but for me, that's not Hogan. Like, NWO is fine, but I want WWF 80s Hulkamania Hogan. I want the red and yellow. Do you know what I mean? I want Hulk rules. I want all that stuff. The 24-inch pythons and whatnot. So that's the Hogan that I would want to meet. But every time I see pictures of him now, he's always wearing like dark colors. And I just think like, man, if you spent like a few $100s, because it ain't going to be cheap. whenever he does like sign-ins at his shop or whatever, if you was to meet him like and you spent a couple of $100, I don't know that I'd want him in like a black t-shirt, black shades. You know what I mean? Like I want to meet the Hogan from the 80s. That's what I want to meet. I want that Hogan, the WWF Hogan. So it's just something else you got to bear in mind. Do you know what I mean? Imagine if you met The Undertaker and he was wearing like bright colors. You'd be like, what? He's wearing like a bright pink t-shirt or something like this. I mean, it just wouldn't work, would it? It just wouldn't work. So, wrestlers do better. Yeah. Someone said about the card. Let me show that again quickly because people jumping in and joining us all the time. So this is the card tonight. We spoke about it earlier. I think it's full of star power. I do have a slight concern about it maybe being a little predictable. But as we said, we're not going to really know that until the card's been and gone. But I think a lot of the big names should be retaining here, picking up victories here. And we do have some title matches. They are billing it as championship fight nights. So Elite against Top Flight and AR Fox. That's for the trios. Then we've got Acclaimed against the Guns. That's for the tag titles. And then we got Jamie Hayter against the Bunny. That is not for a title. It's an eliminator match. So if Bunny wins, she'll get a title opportunity. Now, maybe she wins and she gets a title shot and then she'll lose it there, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, though, I mean, are we really going to build the Bunny up as like a credible threat? I would just have Jamie Hayter win. I would just have Jamie Hayter win and not mess around. So I personally would go that way. But we'll have to wait and see what they end up doing. But that is the card for tonight. Obviously, MJF as well, title eliminator against Takeshita. It's not a bad card, said Billy. Should be good. Not a great card, though, said Expose Him. Favorite wrestling movie, says Brenton. People hate on it, but I enjoy Ready to Rumble, and I still do to this day. I mean, what I will say is I don't think there's a great wrestling movie. I don't know that there's one that I would like swear by. I don't think there's a wrestling movie that I'd be like, this is the one. Yeah, I mean, The Wrestler was very good. I mean, that's maybe from a critically acclaimed point of view, that's probably the one that people point to. But I mean, when I was a kid, I remember seeing like Suburban Commando and Mr. Nanny. Of course, I caught like a bit of The Marine and See No Evil and, things along those lines. But I mean, even though like some of these films have got some fun moments, whatever, overall as movies, they're just not going to stand up to, I think a lot of people's favorite films. So if someone was to come to me and go, really fancy a film about wrestling, I think I'd probably just point them to The Wrestler. I mean, that would seem to be like the most safest bet, wouldn't it? That would probably be the one that I think people would get the most out of. No Holds Barred, Body Slam. Mitchell said, did you see my super chat? I didn't. No, sorry, I didn't see it. I didn't. It passed me by. I didn't even hear it, actually. Have I got my alert down too low? Let me adjust that. Here it is, Mitchell. Mitchell said, I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy. It's an awesome game. What's your favorite video game? Do you think AJ will be at Mania? Favorite video game? When I was young, I really loved like a football managing Premier Manager type game. So that is basically text on screen. It's really dull. But you basically make your own team so you can buy players, sell players, change the formation, and then you play games and you don't actually see the games. You just see the results coming in. And then obviously if you've had a bad result, you look at it, tinker with it, maybe buy a new defender, get a new star striker that might be scoring some more goals for you, blah, 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 blah. Well, this was like in the mid-90s when I was a kid. And it was quite a simple version of it. I mean, there's some of those types of games where you can just spend your life, you know what I mean? Like setting up training and all this kind of stuff, doing scouting. And there's people that just like spend their lives on those types of games. The one I had in the mid-90s was very basic. But I loved it that it was basic. And you could upgrade your stadium. So you'd have this like little stadium that looked awful. By the time, end of the day, it was like this massive, amazing 80,000 stadium. I love that journey of taking a team that's awful and making it like, one of the best in the world. I do think that that's where GM mode in like WWE games, I suppose, is similar. It allows you to book your own show and improve the results, improve the ratings. And I think certainly in this day and age, like ratings are focused on a lot more now than they've ever been, right? I mean, like you look at the conversations on Twitter, it's all about like, well, not all about, but a lot about ratings, AEW ratings, NXT ratings, Raw ratings, Power Slap ratings. So I sort of feel like GM mode is perfect for this day and age where you can book your own shows. If there was a way of like competing against a rival promotion and all that kind of stuff, like really lean into the current narrative, WWE, AEW, TV deals coming up. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a wrestling game that did that. I mean, I didn't look at GM mode in 2K22, so I don't know how deep it goes. But for me, I've always loved those types of games, those managing types of games, those you're in control, you've got to try and make this situation better type game. I've always enjoyed that over, say, Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto or something like that. And it's so replayable as well because you can do it and achieve it and then turn it off, come back and start again. Some of like Grand Theft Auto, I know there's lots of different narratives you can do, but the quests are the same. The whatever you have to go and do, like the missions, they're largely going to be the same. But like you can take a different team, you could start in a different league, you could buy different players. Like there's so many different paths you can take in those type of managing games. So that was my favorite when I was young. Of course, I played wrestling games as well, and whatever was flavor of the month, Street Fighter 2, played that, Tomb Raider, played that. Like the ones in more recent years were like Borderlands. I did really enjoy that game. I love the art style of that game. I thought it was really good. But I mean, we've spoke about wrestling games before. There's never been any wrestling games I've been truly crazy about. I've just never really. 08 SmackDown versus Raw 08 is the one that I've probably put the most time into, and I really enjoyed it, but I've never gone back to it since, I feel like if I really sat down and put time into Fire Pro Wrestling, I think I would be into that because that, again, it's got that kind of customizable element to it. And, you can pretty much, because they're small figures, you can pretty much make anyone ever. Because in order to do it, it doesn't take that much work. Like, I feel like if you want to create a wrestler now, you need a degree in art, right? You need to be like a professor at a university of art school because you got to do face mapping and all this kind of stuff. You ain't doing that in Fire Pro Wrestling. You've just got a little character. As long as you get the ring gear, as long as you get the skin tone, body type, hair type color, and like, you get the ring gear looking good, you've pretty much done it. So you can make like, I don't know, natural disasters. You could make Legion of Doom. You could make Demolition. You could make Roman Reigns against Repo Man. You could have Max Moon against Okada. The degree of customization in Fire Pro is so intriguing and compelling. And I think if there was a game that I was to sit down and go, do you know what? I'm going to put a weekend into this, and it'd be a wrestling game. I think it would be Fire Pro that I would do that with. And I would like, I don't know if you can download, I'm sure you probably can download other people's creations. I wouldn't want to do them myself if I could just get them. Though, but I'd love to get like old, golden era type WWE roster and, just really like tinker around. I mean, I love all that tinkering more than I do playing the game, I think. So yeah, I love, there's lots of different games that I love, but I must admit there's none that I am playing at the moment or anything that I play regular. I had a little spell last year where I probably put about 30 hours or something into Fallout 3 because I was just determined to finish that game. I remember playing it ages ago and I got lost. And genuinely, I got lost in the game. And I don't really know how I did that because you can just press a button and then find the map and find where you are. But for some reason, I just got lost. And I don't even think I really understood the controls. And so I couldn't really remember where the map was. and I couldn't find my way out, and I couldn't teleport or transport, or I just couldn't do anything. I was just lost. I was lost in the game. And I was like, oh my God. I remember I abandoned it. So that's always been one that I've wanted to finish. I feel like, when it's time for me to leave the this planet, right? I don't want to leave this planet having not completed Fallout 3. So I did put some time into that. I still haven't finished it, but I've got a lot further than I did before. So yeah, I feel like we could spend a long time on video games, but that's a quick history as to what I've played. And then in regards to AJ, what do I think he'll do for Mania? That's a tricky one. I mean, I don't think he'll be around the titles. I don't expect him to be fighting for a mid-card belt. I don't expect him to be fighting for the main belt. He's going to have to be in some sort of feuds. There's maybe a chance, because what do you do with Finn, Damian Priest, and Dominic? What do you do with those guys? Because those guys are a problem, to be honest, because they're not going to be around the title. They're not going to be around the mid-card belts. I don't expect, because, Gunther, we don't know who Gunther will end up facing, but I can't see it being someone from Judgment Day, because he's a heel, so it's got to be a face. And we know that Theory's going to be facing someone that wins Elimination Chamber. Finn Balor's not involved in that. Damian Priest is, but I think he's only there to make up the numbers. So I'm wondering if we do Edge, Dominic, Damian again, Finn, Dominic, Damian, Judgment Day, taking on Edge, AJ, and maybe Rey Mysterio, and maybe we just finish this feuds. Because are we going to start something new now? And I know the conversation will be, well, what do you do with Gallows and Anderson? Well, I don't think we should have brought them back anyway. I don't know what you do with Gallows and Anderson. I don't think WWE know what to do with Gallows and Anderson. I mean, they could go into some sort of tag match. There could be a big tag, fatal four-way tag thing, that you could do, where you do Gallows and Anderson and Street Profits and Usos and Viking Raiders or whoever. So, they could slip into that. But, I mean, you can't be starting a new feud for the Judgment Day now. I mean, clearly we're going to be building to Edge and Balor in some degree at WrestleMania. So, what are you going to do with Dominic? Rhea's going off to face for the women's belt. So, what do you do with Dominic? What do you do with Dominic? What do you do with Damian Priest? So I think it's a bit tricky. I can't see you starting anything new. So I just wonder if you put it all into one pot and get it finished. Just get it done and then move on to something brand new afterwards, Brood Edge against Demon Balor, Hell in a Cell would be a better idea, says James. Brenton said, what version of the wrestler did you like? I like the original one with Vern Gagne as lead role with cameos from likes of Dusty. I didn't like the Mickey Rourke one. I would go, I feel like the Mickey Rourke one is the one that is more critically acclaimed. I also don't know how widely available the original one is. I haven't really looked for that one, so I don't know how widely available that is. So the one that I would be recommending would be the Mickey Rourke one. But I think if you're more of a hardcore wrestling fan, then you may get a bit more enjoyment out of watching the old legends and watching the original. Retribution said, I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy since its pre-order early access. It's my game of the year. You should get it. I'm not a Potter fan, to be honest. I'm not against Harry Potter, but it's not my thing. I got forced to watch the films, and I mean, I can't say that it was like a chore or anything, but I saw enough to know this isn't my thing. It's not my thing. I get why people like it, and I understand it's a massive success, but it's I never needed you at all. I never needed you. Matt, shout out to you. Said, I've yet to watch CM Punk UFC debacle. Seeing a hero figure appearing so weak and inadequate is uncomfortable. How did you feel watching it? Says Matt. Good question. So CM Punk in UFC. I mean, to be honest, it wasn't a great surprise to me. It didn't change my perception of CM Punk. If anything, I think I had a bit more respect for him to go in and give it a go. I mean, we know that Brock went in and obviously became heavyweight champion. CM Punk went in and I mean he got humbled. It's as simple as that. He got humbled. He had 2 fights, lost them both. One of them, I think now though, has been changed to a draw or a no contest because I think it was drugs. The other guy had taken some, but honestly, it wouldn't have made any difference. Like he was awful. He was just so easy to take down and so easy to control. Like there was just not much in the way of resistance. And if you think that he'd put years into training and had put like a long time, put a lot of work into, it wasn't like he just rocked up and thought, oh, I can do this. He was working with some of the best trainers. And they really, I remember like waiting for ages for him to actually do it. And you just, like didn't know when it was going to happen. Like you're waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally you get to the match and it was awful. It was awful. So, I mean, he is in the UFC community seen as a bit of a joke, to be honest. But I think for me, and I don't know, maybe even for the wrestling fans, I think there's a respect in the fact that he got in there and gave it a go. Because, I mean, pro wrestling is scripted. And this is not. I mean, it's simple as that. You are going in there. You are going to get hit. You are going to get hurt. You're going to get kicked. We've seen people have broken bones and, we've seen horrific injuries. We've seen lips ripped open. Like, there's some, it's serious. So for him to, I think for anyone to step into a cage, you have to respect that. You have to respect that. It doesn't really matter that he went in there and got humbled. You have to respect the fact that he was willing to go in there and put himself through any of that, potentially any of that could have happened to him. And he was willing to do that. So I don't look at it that way. I really, really don't. I don't look at it as, oh my God, he's a disgrace. It's an embarrassment, all this kind of stuff. I look at it as didn't go the way he wanted. Yeah, it's, maybe done a bit of damage to his brand, certainly in the UFC community that regard him as a joke now. But I mean, honestly, all it does as well is it just reinforces my belief that, if you are not giving all of your time and being really committed to something, then, you don't belong in that world. CM Punk joined the UFC world too late. He was, I don't know how old he was, but I mean, I believe like easily in his 30s when he started training. I mean, this is when people are getting out the sport, not getting into the sport. And so he was, facing an uphill battle anyway. And yeah, he gave it a decent go. But my belief is like, you've got kids in there that have been doing it since their teens. And you're going to walk in your 30s and you're going to pick it up and show them how to do it. Like, you just feel like I don't know if you need to respect the sport a little bit more. I don't know if you need to just have a word with yourself and just be like, listen, you can't just step in there and pick this up. You can't just do that. WWE have got an ability, because it's scripted, to make anyone look good, right? You could be in your 60s. And you could be limited with your movement, and WWE will find a way of making you look good. They'll put you in there with someone, they'll put you in a tag match. They'll build it up where your partner is like desperate for the tag and all this kind of stuff. And the hot tag will be made. Crowd will go ballistic. In you come. They'll make sure that the person that's in there is going to bump around like a super trooper. They'll teach you a few things, even if it's just a clothesline. Do this clothesline, make it look good. Boom, 60-year-old person hits a big lariat clothesline. Doesn't matter that it's got the force of like a fly. The person will bump around like Shawn Michaels did against Hulk Hogan. They'll make it visually look as good as possible. You have to remember everyone is on the same page trying to achieve the same thing. And that thing is to get this person over, basically, in WWE. So in WWE, you've got that protection. You don't have that protection in MMA. You are in there. That door closes. You are in there on your own. And ain't no one bothered about making you look good. So, UFC might try and make you look good by matching you up against someone that's going to, like, if you're a striker and you're not very good on the ground, UFC will be like, probably we won't put him in with a wrestler then, So UFC will try and do some stuff, but to protect you, but they can only do so much. But yeah, it didn't affect me, honestly. As I said, I look at it a different way. I think respect for getting in there. Matt, shout out to you, buds. Appreciate the support, as always. Matt with a smiling cat. What is it? An emoji? I don't know if they're emoji. Stickers, aren't they? I think they're stickers. Stickers. Appreciate it, Matt. Appreciate it. Big Chungus said, I had Ligma all week. Loved watching your stream. I don't know what Ligma is. I don't know what that is. But Big Chungus, shout out to you, buds. If that is somewhat bad. I mean, I don't know if it's bad, but if it is bad, then I hope you're feeling better. And I appreciate the support. I'm glad that you enjoy the streams. I enjoy doing them as well. I mean, it's a pleasure for me to sit here and just talk about whatever you want to talk about. This is why we start early, because I just enjoy chatting with you guys. So it's easy to do. And I think we can touch on some interesting topics. So we'll do that now. We'll see what else people have got. What crossover athlete from another sport in pro wrestling was your least favorite? I think Ronda turned into a flop the more she goes on. We all know Cain Velasquez was meh. Thoughts? I mean, I don't feel that way about Ronda or Cain, because for me, wrestling is about two people legitimately battling to be the best. And I know that Ronda and Cain are coming from the MMA world, and I know that they are legit. So in my mind, they're legit. Like, they can go in there and they can humble this roster, right? So for me, I mean, this is where it comes down to, what do you watch wrestling for? I don't watch wrestling for the flips. I don't watch wrestling for the, I want to be entertained, of course, and I want a nice dramatic match, right? And of course you want those near falls, and you want that drama to build, and you want good selling, right? Those are things that you can definitely point at with Ronda. You can't point at it so much with Cain, because he had one match, didn't he? And he was injured for that match. So his only match in WWE, he was not 100%. As a result, he just went in there. They did a few minutes, quick little squash thing where Brock got the win. And obviously people were down on it because they wanted more than that. But Cain he wasn't ready to compete. He wasn't cleared. Well, he was cleared, but he was not in the best of places physically. So Cain, I would take off the table, and I would say, like, can't really judge on that. He had some matches down in Mexico that actually got quite a bit of praise. So I feel like if he had come in and he was fit, he was healthy, he was ready to go, I feel like you would have got something. You definitely wouldn't have just got out of him what we ended up getting out of him. Ronda for me is legit. She is someone that could rip the arms off these women. And I don't like her promos. I don't think she's a very good promo. I think she needed a manager. I think she needed better creative as well. I don't think the creative around Ronda was very good at all. Why Ronda was, sometimes she was a heel, sometimes she was a face. Why Ronda didn't have like a damage control of her own, Ronda, that match that Ronda has at WrestleMania 34 is like one of the most praised debuts that we ever saw. And everyone was swooning about that match. Everyone was saying it was the best match from WrestleMania 34, that tag match. And again, it just goes to show this is what WWE are capable of doing. They can take someone that's limited, they can put them in the right environment, and they can get a match out like this. Loads of people are down on Ronda now, but these same people loved her debut at WrestleMania 34. Her going like solo and everything, like, I think in ring she was all right. I don't think she was horrific. I thought she was all right. I think she got a bad reputation. I think it was easy to hate on Ronda. I think that her promos were not good enough, and I think that was a barrier. But I think that for me, like, she overcame a lot of that with her legitimacy. She was legit. She really would have been the women's champion in this division. So for me, I was never worried about that. I was never worried about that. I mean, I think it's really hard to book MMA people in WWE because if you come from UFC, you're legit, and you should be able to beat 99% of this roster, right? And so you have to kind of book them with that level of respect. But equally, how can you book them like monsters that aren't never beaten? You know, they've got to be beatable. Everyone's got to be beatable. So you sort of go. It's the same problem with the Fiend. You know, the Fiend has, like, you know, got the ability to come back alive from being burnt. You know, and he's got all these abilities. Well, he's got to be beatable. But I mean, when he gets beaten by someone like Goldberg, I mean, it looks stupid, doesn't it? Or like when he gets beaten by like Randy and it's a distraction, whatever. You know, even Bray said that's the night that the Fiend died in his interview the other week. So I don't know. I sort of feel like I think athletes coming in, celebrities coming in. I think it's all a problem. I think it's all an issue and a problem because it's not a level playing field. You know, if you're a wrestler and you come through the system with the other wrestlers, your booking, your look, of course, but your booking will also really help dictate like where you are on the cards. Whereas if you're Ronda Rousey, like, you're coming in as a massive star on a massive paycheck, you've got to be pushed. You've got to be at the top of the cards. You would legitimately be the most dangerous woman in that division. There ain't no woman on that roster that would beat Ronda Rousey in a real fight. No one. Right? So she would be the champion. She would be the champion. But then how do you book her when she's got limitations on the microphone? And, you know, some of her matches were, you know, a bit clunky in places. I really don't think her matches were as bad as people said. I really don't. I don't think her matches were as bad. I just think that it became cool to hate Ronda. I really do. I think it became cool to hate Ronda. And I think that Twitter in particular just gets into these sorts of trends whereby, you know, people just follow the trend. It's cool to follow the trend and say what everyone else is saying. It's, you know, maybe surprisingly, it's not the cool thing to swim in the other direction sometimes. So, yeah, I must admit, I was never massively down on Ronda. Don't get me wrong, I was never like, I can't sit here and list loads of great matches of Ronda's, but I certainly didn't watch her like, and she wasn't Eva Marie. Do you know what I mean? She wasn't Eva Marie. She wasn't someone that you'd watch in there that were, you know, when she went against the ropes, she wasn't like say Candice, who like just like slightly touches the ropes, like touches them so gently that the rope, I don't even know if the ropes move when she hits the ropes. Like, she was throwing it in. In fact, if anything, you could say at times she was throwing it in a bit too snug and a bit too hard, a bit too much. To be honest, that ain't my problem, is it? I love it when they do that. Do you know what I mean? I want it to look real. And, you know, if the odd potato gets through, that's what you signed up for. Sorry. So, I mean, I used to love when Thunder Rosa used to, like, throw in her drop kicks and everything as well. I like it when they do. I cannot stand it when striking looks awful. When they're like this, like, and they're like a mile from the head, and it just looks rubbish. Oh, God, I just think I hate it. I hate that. That does my head in. But if they're going to like really like throw in some shots and the odd one gets through, I mean, welcome to wrestling. You know, this has been happening throughout the history of wrestling. It's what you signed up for. So in regards to like what athletes do I think have done like good jobs or whatever? I'm just not really bothered. You know me. I want to watch the wrestlers. I'm not really bothered about other people coming in and like giving it a go as a hobby. Do you know what I mean? Like giving it a go because they think they can. I'd much rather watch those wrestlers that have been trained and like come through the system. And yeah, I'm much more into that. What is your prediction for Volkanovski versus Makachev? What's my prediction? My prediction would be Makachev. I think Makachev wins. And I think it's going to be relatively comfortable for him. I think he looked absolutely fantastic against Charles Oliveira. And Khabib has got so confident that he is the best. I mean, they are not waiting around. I mean, Volkanovski must be a little concerned that, like, you know, Makachev has won that belt seemingly quite comfortably. And, you know, Khabib's like, this is the guy and he's the best in this organization. He's going to beat Volkanovski. And that's it. They called him out. The number one guy in the company, we want him next. Because we're there, we're good enough. And Khabib, you would think, would know if the level of Makachev. And if Khabib's like, this is the guy, it's hard to not agree, is it? Certainly after that performance against Charles Oliveira, who's been so dominant and looks so impressive. He just got made to look really average in that last fight. Makachev just seemed very comfortable for him. So I've got to think that I haven't seen the odds yet, but I've got to think that Makachev's favorite. I think it's a big fight, of course. Dana seems to be suggesting that it's like huge and it's got like, you know, it's big ratings and like pay-per-views and all this. Like he's saying it's on track to be one of the biggest ever. I find that hard to believe, but that's what he's saying. But yeah, I'm going to go with Makachev. J-Man, I want to get to J-Man. Matt, you don't have to keep sending these through, bud. Honestly, you can stop, my friends. Where's J-Man gone? Did I read J-Man's? Oh no, it was a gifted thing. J-Man, shout out to you. I thought it was I'm not used to all these gifted subscriptions. So Matt, Melissa, J-Man, shout out to all of you guys. This is a surprise. According to WrestleNomics, who cover TV ratings, SmackDown is currently the most watched program on Fox. The other programs are doing under 1.8. Live sport has longevity. Alexander said Islam is minus 320 favorite. Damn. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that. Genuinely, I didn't know that. I haven't done my research. I always do my research on a Thursday. So I haven't even begun to look at the UFC card. I haven't even done the stream. I haven't done the thumbnail. I haven't done anything for it yet. So I haven't looked at it. I never really look at events until the week of the events because not that long ago, it doesn't happen so much now, but not that long ago, the events were like getting a lot of fights cancelled because of COVID. That doesn't really happen anymore, in all fairness. But there was quite a few times during lockdown where I would do the research like a week before. By the time I would get to the event, like 4 of the fights had been dropped off. And so I was like, just like wasted my time basically. So now I've just got into this habit where if the show's on a Saturday, I'll do my research on a Thursday. There shouldn't really be any fights that get cancelled between that time frame. Sometimes there's the odd one, but so I haven't looked at it yet. So that's interesting. But Matt said you're welcome. I love this channel. We have very much got that vibe, Matt. We have very much got that vibe. Space Maniac said, I used to come here to listen to the play-by-play, but now I watch it main memberships. Space Maniac, shout out to you. Dark Knight said, Islam submission in the first rounds. Brenton said, thoughts on Liv's career. I feel bad for her that she couldn't last longer as a champion, but I do get the criticism. Her wanting to be more a hardcore orientated wrestling is risky. I think though, we were talking about this the other day. If you are a slightly smaller wrestler, and I don't know that I would class her as a smaller wrestler. Like, there's smaller. You know, we were talking a lot about Roxanne Perez. And I mean, it's funny because we were talking about Caden Carter and Katana Chance and about how they're both small. And they, together as a tag team, they are, you know, great as a tag team. And they've got great chemistry. And it kind of overcomes the fact that they're small. They just by chance happened to do a backstage interview with Roxanne, both of them, even Katana Chance, who I genuinely thought was the smallest wrestler in WWE, genuinely did. She's thin, she's small, and she's thin as well. She's still taller than Roxanne Perez, which blew my mind, to be honest. I really didn't think anyone was smaller than Casey Catanzaro than Katana Chance. I wouldn't say Liv was like, there was that level, right? I wouldn't say Liv was that level. So I don't really class her as like a small wrestler. There's clearly bigger like Nia Jax, but I wouldn't class Liv so much as a small wrestler. I think Liv's problem is that she doesn't really stand out. She doesn't really stand out. Like her promos are so-so. Her in-ring matches are fine. There's nothing really much there to criticize. Like, it's not like she goes in and she's throwing horrible looking shots, or she's botching, or she's getting lost during the matches, not quite knowing what to do next, or like her striking looks rubbish. Like, she's got a few nice little moves in her arsenal as well. There's a few things that she can do in there. And I just think that she's middle of the road promo, maybe not even quite middle of the road, in-ring middle of the road, right? And this not throwing shade. I know it sounds like I am, but I just don't think there's anything there to hang your hat on. She's a pretty face. She's got a bright future. She's got a fan base. She's obviously got a nice connection with the audience, but her in-ring is very middle of the road. There's, name the great Liv Morgan matches. Like, they're just not. So I feel like WWE have looked at it, sort of seeing the same thing, and have gone, well, do you know what? Let's give her that edge. Let's give her something to hang her hat on. Let's make her a bit edgier. Let's if the crowd want tables, it's Liv that's going to get the tables. If the crowd want chairs, it's Liv that's going to go and get the chairs. Like, she is someone that will go to those levels on a more regular basis and quicker than anyone else. There's no one else in the women's division that will grab a table, grab a chair, have those types of matches, put herself in those types of situations. What it could boil down to is there's no one that wants it more. She wants it so bad, she will get a table, get a chair, get a weapon, do whatever it takes to get that victory and move forward. She is fighting for her place on this card. She is fighting for her place on this roster. I don't mind that narrative. Because if you take that away from her, what else is there? I mean, what is there to hang your hat on with Liv Morgan? As I said, like, she's an attractive girl, but that's only going to get you so far. I think that her looks got her to the main roster. I don't think it was her wrestling ability. I don't think she was that great of a wrestler when she came up. I thought she was really green. And I said so at the time. There was nothing down in NXT I was seeing that was catching my attention. And when they brought her up, she was part of Riot Squads. And I have to be honest, I think she came up because of her looks. I really do. I think she's an attractive girl. I think they saw that she would be super marketable. And I think they thought, listen, let's put her in this group. Let's get her some experience on the main roster. She wants it as well. I mean, it isn't just a case that she's a model that doesn't care. Like, she wants to be a wrestler. So she's got the right attitudes. And I think that they went with her. And, we've got somewhere. I mean, we have got somewhere. She is much improved compared to when she first came up. Night and day. She's one of the most improved wrestlers on the roster. if you watch her down in NXT and watch her matches, compare it to her match now, like she's so much smoother, so much better. She's got more moves in her arsenal. Confidence has gone through the roof. She knows what she's doing now. She's I say a seasoned veteran, but she's done it. Like she's been around the houses enough times. She's done on the tours. She's done the house shows. She's been in a few stories. She's had TV time. She's done promos. She's been in feuds. She's held the title now. So I sort of feel like we're at a point with Liv where she's perfectly acceptable. I do not look at Liv and think she doesn't belong on the main roster. I don't think that. I did at the start. I don't think it now. Right? But I think you do have to give her something to hang her hat on. You've got to give her something to get her teeth into. And I think the Extreme thing's not a bad shout. It's not a bad shout. The other things that you can do is like what we're doing with Alexa, where you make her a bit spooky. And like that's something else that you could hang your hat on. You could go down that road. Or you could put her in a group, like Damage Control. Then, of course, you've got some stories that you can tell there. You're always looking for that angle. You're always looking for that slight thing that's just going to make them stand out. And I don't mind the Extreme thing. I really don't mind it. I just think they need to explain it better. I just think I'd love some interviews where she says why she's doing that. I'm tired of waiting around. I'm tired of waiting for my number to be called. I'm going to make my own opportunities. And if that means I have to get the tables, I will get the tables, or something along those lines. I can see the fans do you know what I mean? And it worked as well, because after she lost the title, she had a few matches with Sonya, and she would get the tables and she would grab the chairs, and the reaction from the live crowd, they were loving it. It's simple, innit? I mean, if you get a table, drag a table out from under the ring, the crowd are going to love you. They're going to love you because you're about to give them a spot that they are excited to see. They love when people go through tables. It's for some reason the WWE Universe's favorite thing is watching someone go through a table. So if Liv's the person that can give them that on a regular basis, I can only imagine that's going to help rather than hinder. Life of Daz, shout out to you, says, good to see you. YouTube was down for ages. YouTube was down. Was it? I know that Twitter's down because I've reached my limit, apparently, when it comes to messages. So I know that Twitter was down, but wasn't aware that YouTube was down. Oh, dear. Right. But J-Man said, give a shout to Matt for the memberships. Oh, dude, we have. Honestly, I mean, Matt, so generous. We've shouted him out quite a bit, and rightfully so. Very, very generous. And as we said, we will be doing member stream tomorrow. So if you did benefit from Matt, then you can join us on that, which will be tomorrow. And as I said, if you are a member, send over a video. Then send over a video clip, send over an audio clip, share your thoughts, right, about anything we talk about. It doesn't have to be about, Elimination Chamber or anything. Anything that you want to get across, a point that you want to make. I wouldn't make it any longer than a minute because obviously I'm hoping we get a few. And so obviously if each one's going to be 5 minutes long, we'd only get to so many. So if we put a limit of a minute, I mean, you should be able to get a lot across within that time frame. That I could see that being really beneficial going forwards. I could see a reason for member streams on a regular basis. This is what I've always struggled with. Always struggled with like member streams, because what purpose do they serve? Like, what is it that we're using them for? What's the purpose of them? Like, what are we doing? Talking just about the latest news, or what are we doing? Whereas this kind of makes a bit more sense, because what it's actually doing is giving you more of an opportunity to talk, and then obviously we can discuss it and check around a few things after. So I like it. I'm quite excited for it. So yeah, send over your clips tomorrow, or send them over tonight. I'll get them all sorted for tomorrow. And right, here we go. We're going over. Matt said, I like to see her with Bray because she's dating Bo Dallas in real life. and that is so that is Bray's cousin. Well, Bo is Bray's brother. Liv, I mean, I actually don't know her relationship with Bo. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they've been quite private about it. I believe she's living on the farm and whatever, but like when she met him, how long they've been dating, if they're still dating, like the details of it, to be honest, I'm not really bothered about. I don't care about that side of it. But as a result, I don't know much about it. But I believe, yes, they are dating. Things more than, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. From what I heard, they were like trying to start a company together, a property company, where, you can, an agency type thing. You can sell your home and whatever. But I don't know where we got with it. I mean, I don't know if she will ever find a way getting in with Howdy and all of that kind of stuff. If Alexa's going to take some time off and that's not going to be a way forward, maybe this is what you use Liv for, Maybe that's what you use Liv for, is you bring Liv into the Bray Howdy storyline, which honestly, not that long ago, a few years ago, do you remember she was putting out some cryptic tweets? And everyone was sort of talking that it looked like she was heading in that direction. She never did. I feel like that's what got her over, to be honest. I think that's what really won her over with the fans. I seem to remember before that, she was on a few people's radars, but she wasn't really anything. It wasn't like it is now. But when she did all of that Twitter stuff and put out those cryptic kind of messages and people were like, thinking that she was with Bray, I remember, I did some videos on it because the messages were very interesting and she was putting out teasers. And to be honest, this might be where my distrust of wrestlers and their Twitter accounts came from, to be honest, is the fact that we went down this road and she was putting these teasers out and it didn't lead anywhere. But after she did that, the awareness of her fan base seemed to be drastically different. So that was a big moment for her. That was a big moment for her in regards to growing her fan base. Matt said, Liv deserves her spot on the main roster. Yeah, I think she does. She does now. I must admit, as I said, at the time, back in the day, I was not impressed. It really felt to me like she was there for her looks. More so than her wrestling ability. And, the good thing about Liv, though, is that she works hard. She works hard. She really wants this. I read a great interview. I think it was with Enzo. He said that he went to a Hooters and found Liv because obviously she used to work in a Hooters. And they were talking whatever and they started dating. And she made it very clear she wanted to become a wrestler from a very young age. That's what she wanted to do. And so he was having a trial. He ended up getting her a trial. And I believe that's how she got into the business. So it came from that. So she is always, this is not, I really love that about her. I respect that about her. This isn't just something to do because modeling didn't work out. This is what she wants to be. Gotta respect that, haven't you? Gotta respect that. So, I don't know. I would like to see her get a good, credible gimmick, something you can hang your hat on, and then see where we get with her. I think the future's bright for Liv Morgan. Do we think Billy will turn on the Acclaimed tonight, says Mitchell? Will Billy turn on the Acclaimed? Maybe. I hope not. I think him with the Acclaimed has been absolutely brilliant. And so for that to end, I think would be so disappointing. It'd be such a shame. Daddy Ass not being around would be a shame. But yeah, I think there's a chance that it might happen. I've got to think he's probably done everything he can do with them, if you think about it. The Guns might benefit now by having him with them, but he was with them before, and I can't say they were really getting anywhere. But the heat of him turning on the Acclaimed, maybe that'll just give everyone a bit of a boost. So there probably is a good chance of it happening. MJF is in control of this match. We are underway with Takeshita in the corner. Interesting venue, this. Not a massive venue by the looks of it. Nice venue, though. It's not like a gymnasium. Takeshita hurling MJF into the corner. This apparently is MJF's 2023 debut match. Mental, innit? Like 9th of February. I'm looking forward to the UFC stream, says Kian. Should be good. Should be good. I'm mad House of Black don't get TV time. They deserve a real feud, says Barack Obama. Welcome, sir. If my modeling career doesn't work out days, I might take up wrestling. I just need to improve the painting of my Warhammer army. Nice. Boot coming in by Takeshita. MJF goes down. Takeshita picking MJF up and drops him down. Looking for the cover. Shoulder up. Shoulder up. I've been watching since pre-pandemic. Thanks for the shout out. You are the best stream. J-Man, appreciate it, buds. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a pretty wild time for wrestling. This year in particular is going to be very, very interesting. You know, Tony Khan was saying that he has got big expectations for a lucrative AEW deal. He was talking about the library as well. And he was talking about the fact that, like, he thinks that could go onto a streaming platform. So it might be that we see AEW get a big lucrative TV deal, but also they go onto a streaming platform for, like, their historic stuff, their older library. Because he's got the Ring of Honor library, and he's got what, 3-4 years of AEW content as well. So I think he's looking at deals for that as well. So he's really looking at getting like a good injection of money. MJF has got Takeshita. He's going to go for a pile driver. Takeshita reverses it. MJF. Lovely. Like a package pile driver into a deadlift German. Takeshita in control of this one. Crowd are quite hot, you know. Crowd are normally quite hot for AEW shows. It's such an interesting build in this one. Charging over, rolls out the ring. I don't know how many people are in attendance here. It feels like just a few thousand, maybe. I don't know why, but the AEW crowd is always exciting, says me. I need an injection of ruthless aggression. Lesnar, Edge, or MJF? Who has the most matches this year? Well, I mean, do you count the Rumble match? Because that was Edge's only one, wasn't it? It might be Brock's only one, wasn't it? Was it the Rumble, Brock's only one? I think they're all tied at the moment. Unless... I don't remember Brock having any other this year. Amazon is All Elite t-shirts has day ago. Maybe they could put it on Prime. Amazon is All Elite for t-shirts has day. Maybe they could put it on Prime. I mean, like, what, like Amazon buy the library and put it onto Prime? Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, I mean, like I think I can go back and watch the old shows because I get the AEW thing on Fight, so I think that allows me to go back. I don't know. I've never looked, to be honest. I've never rewatched an old AEW show, but I think what would be really good, what they should do, is documentaries. I mean, like, why aren't they putting out like the best of the first year for AEW, the best of year 2? The best of MJF, like focusing on MJF's like stories in AEW, like I don't even know if those things are on YouTube, to be honest. But I feel like no one's, well, I can't say no one's doing that. Perhaps someone is. But AEW are not doing that. You know, I'm not seeing AEW putting out like documentaries about MJF or the history of the AEW title. I mean, we know it because we've been watching it from the start. But there'll be people that get into it that won't know the history. And where do they go for that information? Like, they have to read. You have to read on Wikipedia. Ain't reading. Someone should read it to me. Takeshita went down. Super kick by... I don't know what that was. That was Takeshita trying for... I think he was trying for like a Spanish fly. MJF has got the salt of the earth armbar. Is biting the fingers of Takeshita. Takeshita tries to get the pin on MJF. MJF charges over, goes through the ropes to the outside. Takeshita against the ropes over the top. Comes crashing down onto MJF. Crowd going banana. Liv's look also saves her from being released. Vince thought she had a marketable. He thought Ruby didn't, despite Ruby being a better wrestler. Yeah, I think her marketability has got her to the main roster and saved her job as well. Yes, I do agree. But again, I don't want it to make it seem like we're just throwing shade, because she puts the work in. Her heart's in the right place. She really wants it. And she's the sort of homegrown talent that, like, you know, you want to see succeed, really. I just never wanted to see her succeed until it felt like she had reached her potential, fulfilled her potential, you know? And I think like, we're there. I think we're there. Kick coming in by MJF. Takeshita goes down. MJF with Takeshita throwing in a few knees to the side of the body. MJF on his feet. Referee coming over, having a words. MJF backing up over in the corner. Looking to drop the knee as Takeshita rolls out the way. But the arena is like the Hammerstein Ballroom. It's not the biggest, but fan reactions are excellent, says David. I completely agree, yeah. Yeah, crowd are really into it. I mean, I like it, to be honest. I'm so bored of going to like the same arenas all the time. Well, obviously it's not the same arenas, but they just always look the same. If you watch Raw on Monday, it could be coming from the same place that it was last Monday, or the Monday before, or the Monday before. Like, it never feels any different. The venues have no personality. It's just like a blank canvas. This feels a little different, though. It feels a little smaller. There's no upper limit. It feels very different to like a big arena. I really like it. I wish WWE would mix it up a bit more. I wish sometimes Raw would come from the Hammerstein Ballroom or venues of that kind of. Do you know what I mean? 1, 2, MJF with his foot on the rope. Remember when Nitro first started? They did it in Mall of America. That was pretty sick. That was a good idea. You could go to some really fun venues. Takeshita is a star, said Blazed, and he is proving it right here. Did you hear AEW is beginning house shows this late in the game? WWE has shown they're not profitable. You're going to take a loss, but AEW is trying to get more reach. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. I know that WWE weren't making money off it, but I mean, they do them still. They do them on a Saturday and a Sunday. And I don't know if they've managed to make it profitable now. I would imagine that AEW. I've got to think AEW are. I've got to think that can't imagine they're taking a loss by doing them. Maybe they're breaking even or making just a small profit. They won't be making much. Must be a way. I mean, like, that was wrestling for the longest time. Wrestling for the longest time was house shows. So there must be a way of making house shows profitable. Takeshita taps. MJF taps out Takeshita, breaks the holds. He tapped. Horrible finish, said for Beach. From what I saw on Twitter, possible 4,800 tickets. 3,800 were sold as of yesterday. What? So there's 3,800 there? It seems less. I'll tell you what I'm comparing it to. I got told there was 5,000 NXT Vengeance Day, and that was in an arena, and it felt good. This one definitely feels smaller. So in my mind, I was like, "Is this about 1,000, something like that?" If 3,800, I'd be surprised at that. Suppose you can't. It's quite dark, so you can't see how far it goes back, and you can't see the hard cam side, for example. Right, Takeshita is being beaten up after the bell, and we got a bit of blood. Blood coming down Takeshita's face. Here's Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson running down to the ring, chasing MJF away from Takeshita. Danielson making the save. He got color. It looks a bit like Impact Zone, said Undercover Manager. I remember when Monday Night Raw was broadcast from a smaller arena in the beginning. It had a unique feel about it. Yeah, that was the Manhattan Center, which is in the same building as the Hammerstein Ballroom. And it's a place I've always wanted to go in New York. They're just showing Takeshita down and bleeding. Trying to stem the bleeding. Bit of blood on the ring mat. That's a decent amount of blood, said Rory. This crowd is just under 4,000. The thing that makes AEW so loud is because they do book smaller arenas. We just saw him give the blade back to the ref. Okay, last week, Darby Allin, Samoa Joe. You know who's not a worthy adversary? Wardlow. So he says that Darby was a worthy adversary, but Wardlow is not. So Samoa Joe is, of course, TNT champion and Ring of Honor television champion. Samoa Joe just sending a message to Wardlow saying that he's going to expose him. Right? The Butcher, the Blade, the Bunny. I'm guessing, is this going to be Jamie? Jamie against the Bunny? Jesus, how many people are coming out here? Who's this? Who are all these people? Butcher, Blade, Bunny. Who's that? Is that Anna Jay? No? Penelope Ford's? I haven't seen her in forever. Okay, the Bunny making her way down. Jamie Hayter. Hayter's going to hate. Jamie Hayter has made a way out. No, Britt Baker. Oh, there they are. Britt and Reba. I'm really surprised that Britt has not turned on Jamie yet. You would think that Britt just wouldn't be okay with playing second fiddle, you know? Sure, it's going to happen eventually, but... Right, Jamie getting into the ring. Hayter's going to hate. Give me this open over last week's Moxley match any day, says Brenton. Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian also with B cubes. Did you see on Twitter the giant bruise on Gigi's face coming out? No, I didn't. It's very swollen. I can believe it. I can believe it. That's hard, wasn't it, that she went into that door? Right, we've got the bunny stepping into the center. Jamie Hayter shaking the bunny's hands. Bit of respect shown, unbelievably, before the start of this one. We're underway. Jamie Hayter against the bunny. This is a women's title eliminator match. Nice takeover there by Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter deserves her time in the spotlight, says James. Watson said Jamie Hayter is the best thing to come out of Southampton since Ward Prowse. Damien said, how are you doing? What have I missed? You missed MJF against Takeshita. That's all you've missed so far. We're, 20-odd minutes in? So, second match of the evening. Jamie Hayter against Bunny. I'm looking forward to this one. It's always good to see Jamie out there. Shoulder tackle, down goes the bunny against the ropes again. Another shoulder tackle. Jamie going over to the corner. Bunny over the other side. Back elbow. Jamie eating all of that. Bunny grabbing Jamie. Wrapping her legs around the head. Draping herself over the top rope. It's a bit part gamble to put women on in the first hour. Usually they put them at the end of the second hour, and it tanks, said Big Time Baxter. Does Britt turn heel on Jamie, or does Britt turn face too? I wouldn't turn Britt. Might wait until Double or Nothing. I feel like Britt is going to turn on Jamie. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I mean... whether Jamie turns on Britt becomes a face. I mean, I suppose you could try that. And then do you have... I feel like Jamie on her own... It depends what Jamie's going to be. If Jamie's going to be a heel, then I feel like she needs a little faction of her own. If she's going to be a face, then she obviously can, go her own way on her own. She wouldn't need people, but I don't mind, really. I can see pros and cons either way. I don't know that there is a better way to go. Quite happy with Jamie as a face and Britt as a heel, or Britt as a face and Jamie as a heel. I think as long as both are being used. That's all I care about. As long as we get Britt and Jamie being used... brilliant. Right, we've got Jamie on the outside with Bunny coming round. Can you explain how WWE missed talents like Jamie and Britt and also Chris Statlander? Well, I mean, sort of think that they're constantly looking for people to bring into NXT. They secured a lot of people down to different contracts. Don't know if they reached out to Britt and Jamie and everything, but I mean, it could just be that the fact that the Young Bucks and Kenny and the contacts that they've got we're able to just get in and grab people. There's always going to be people. It's as simple as that, to be honest. I mean, WWE locked down as much talent as they could. I mean, they were bursting at the seams, WWE, to the point where not long after, you get to 2020, they then start releasing people because they had too many on their books. So I think it was just a case that WWE were pretty full anyway. WWE were not interested because, I mean, you can look at Britt Baker now and say she's a decent star now. When she first started, she wasn't. When she first started, she was just part of the group. So, they've had to build Britt over a period of time. So, yeah, I mean, look, she's a skilled wrestler. She's definitely someone I think WWE would be interested in having now. But the thing is that you go back to when AEW first started and WWE were bursting at the seams. They secured everyone down to massive contracts because WWE's concern was don't give them stars. Don't give them stars. Don't give them Sasha. Don't give them Bayley. Don't give them Becky. Don't give them any names. If they want to start a company, they can start a company using people from the indie scene that they're going to have to build up themselves. And to be honest, largely, that's what they did. Obviously, they were able to get Jon Moxley. That one, I think, definitely stung because that was, a big name, credible. Obviously, they were able to get Jericho. I think that one stung, right? So they were able to start with some big names. But outside of the Bucks and Kenny, Jericho, Cody, Jon Moxley, once you get a bit further down the cards, your MJFs, your Britt Bakers, your Darby Allens, your Jungle Boys, these are all people that they've had to invest a lot of time in and a lot of TV time to try and create stars. These are homegrown stars. So there's always going to be wrestlers out there. There's wrestlers out there now. Always going to be people out there available around the world. Jamie Hayter gets the win. So there's always going to be people available. It's just I think WWE's focus was making sure AEW didn't get big names that could really bring in ratings from the start. By and large, they were fairly successful with doing that. Whether Britt got offered, I think she did have a little trial, a little run out with WWE. I seem to remember that there is some footage of her in WWE. And just think of the amount of people they're looking at. They might not have had Britt, but instead they ended up with Bianca Belair. You know what I mean? Vince does want talented. Is all about looks and entertainment. Bunny is probably hurt, and they called an audible, said Robert. Fairly quick win, to be honest. I thought that match would go longer. We're backstage. We've got Tony. We've got Saraya. We've got Renee Baguettes. Well done, baby girl. Leva Bates. Leva Bates gets knocked out. We haven't seen Leva Bates in forever. Bit strange, isn't it? They're spraying on Leva Bates. That's heartbreaking when you remember she was Blue Pants. She was Blue Pants, and I used to love her in NXT. I don't think they're going to care, are they? Is Britt and Reba and Jamie going to care that Leva Bates just got attacked backstage? I can imagine them going. What the flip are they NWO now? Thanks for the cast. What is the best event name? WrestleMania does not count. I like Barely Legal. Oh, if you say anything other than Great Balls of Fire, then you're lying. Right? It's great. It's Great Balls of Fire. That is the greatest wrestling name ever. WWE, and the fact that it didn't happen in the 1950s, but happened just a mere few years ago, is staggering, isn't it? If ever you find yourself wondering if Vince is do you think Vince is out of touch? Just remember that he did a show a few years ago called Great Balls of Fire. Barely Legal's very good as well, though. We don't care about Leva Bates. That is her only TV appearance. This is a difficult one. I like Leva Bates because I liked her when she was Blue Pants. They had a good story for her. She was a jobber. She managed to get over. It was very, 1, 2, 3 kid, action Andretti kind of a thing, right? And she actually got crowd chanting for her. The game came out with a T-shirt and all this kind of stuff. It was a good little story. And I remember her getting released and being really disappointed that she'd been released. And I sort of not followed her, but sort of would see that she was wrestling in England and she was wrestling in Germany. And she was like she has been around, and she has been around for a long time. She's put the work in, man. And she's just one of those people that, loves wrestling, wants to be a wrestler. Her matches are so, but I've got a deep respect for Leva Bates. I respect her because I know that this is what she loves and what she wants to do and everything. So you just got respect for that. I've got respect for that. So I'm a bit disappointed that we just couldn't find anything for her. She came in as the librarian, and I don't think we've done anything else with her, to be honest. We've done nothing with Leva Bates. Tony, I just don't think sees anything in her. Or she's quite happy doing backstage roles. I mean, she's kept her job, in all fairness. Well, how many years? She's been in since the start, and she's kept her job, so I don't actually know what she does behind the scenes, but whatever it is, she must be quite happy with it. And they must be happy with her doing it. So, yeah, I like Leva Bates. Oh, I don't mind if she would to have a little bit of TV time and actually, give us something to do. Can we get a Jeff sound drop? And his name is Jeff. And his name is. And his name is Jeff. Yes. Tony, please start with the little AEW new versus AEW originals hints. We can tell it's coming if you read web pages. Just do it. Just do it. Just please. Wrestle Andy, hello. In your house, beware of dog was a good one. That was a good one. Some of them in your house ones were quirky, weren't they? There was quite a few that they came out with that was a little bit. I don't know if they were the actual titles or if they were subtitles. Mitchell said, "Do you watch Being the Elite? Lever is only on that." No, I don't watch Being the Elite. I've never watched it, to be honest. I mean, I've seen a couple of episodes. I saw the one where they announced AEW was coming and they all looked at their phones. I saw that one, but I don't watch anything else. That's a shame. She used to do Dark. I used to see her name coming up for the results at the bottom. Can't say I've seen that for a long time though. It's got to be TNA Hard Times because it fitted so well. They were going through hard times, says Undercover Manager. MJF is being interviewed backstage. Oh, trying to be interviewed. The rubbish locker room. Takeshita, you're really good, but you're no match for a generational talent. I don't know if you people hate me because I'm twisted or if I became twisted because you people hate me. Where's good old JR? They don't use him on commentary anymore, do they? I don't know what he does now, actually. I don't know what his job is. I don't know what this story is. He's telling a story about getting a speeding ticket. Matt said, will we ever see the return of Noel Edmonds to the wrestling ring? He can be volatile and is known to be somewhat unworkable. Has wrestling moved on? I think it has. I think the great wrestling legends of years gone by, sadly, time has passed them by. Noel Edmonds and his crinkly bottom are... I'm afraid strangers to the wrestling ring in 2023. No deal. This is a long story, isn't it? I haven't even been following it. He's talking about hitting a telephone pole. Confused. He was covered in blood. What is this? MJF interview skills have improved, says Michael. He spoke about having a car crash and some girl that he liked was unconscious and he switched seats with her so that he wouldn't get in trouble. Days, despite WWE taking a blow with names like Moxley, Jericho, Bryan joining AEW and then adding Punk big names, WWE's fan base remained loyal. Would it take Brock, Seth, or Drew to create a blow? I mean, like, if you was to put Brock, I mean, like, what you would end up getting is what we saw with CM Punk. So if you put Brock into AEW, people, of course, would tune in to see that moment as they did with CM Punk. But eventually, if the stories aren't going to be captivating and you're putting them in feuds that people just don't care about, or the rest of the show just doesn't hold people's attention, they'll end up going. So that story will just keep repeating itself. Obviously, the more big names like, that you can add on to the show, the more you'll keep people around, because you'll follow a Brock segment with a Bryan Danielson segment, and then you'll follow that with a Soraya segment or whatever it might be. So obviously, like, the more people you bring in, like, the better chances you've got of keeping those viewers around. But I mean, I don't know when that tipping point would be, of course. My feeling is like if you brought Brock into AEW, you're not going to have loads of people stop watching. I mean, no, I don't think WWE fans are going to stop watching WWE at this point and choose AEW instead. I just don't think that choice needs to be made. They're on different nights, for example, So why would WWE fans need to stop watching Raw and SmackDown and start watching AEW? Why would they need to make that choice? They just don't. I mean, I feel like you would have to be on at the same time in order to force that choice. Then you would need some big names to come in to go up against the WWE roster, because WWE would stack whatever show was going up against AEW. They would stack it. You'd have Bloodline, you'd have Sammy, you'd have Bray, you'd have Bianca, you'd have Cody, you'd have everyone going up against it. So like AEW would have to combat against that, and like it's I don't know that there's a straightforward answer to that one, to be honest. If Punk comes back, he needs to be the most over heel. Hit the Ricky Starks pose. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. You do it. Send me a picture. Run the gauntlet ×2. How many times are they going to do this story? Danielson and Starks are having to, and it kind of sucks a little bit. Yeah, it is the Starks gauntlet. Starks gauntlet. I don't think he was talking about Liv in that story. No, I don't think he was talking about Liv. He was talking about some girl called Liv. I don't know what her... I wasn't feeling it, to be honest. I really wasn't. I mean, like, he was talking about, like, this story. I mean, like, I think the point he's making is that he'll do whatever it takes in this life. There's winners and losers, you know, and he's always ensuring that he's a winner. But, like, it just seemed like a bit of a long-winded story, and it didn't grab me. Anyway, we're moving on. We're 40 minutes into the show. Starks wins the first match in the gauntlet. Daddy Magic is in there now. He rolls up Daddy Magic, 2, 3, and he gets the pin there. So Starks has beaten both of those in quick succession. Ricky Starks has got 2 more people to beat then, so here's Garcia. Garcia making his way down to the ring. Starks' move is like a combination of a dab and a face palm. Like that. That's a dab. That's a dab, innit? Used to do dabs. Is it like that? I genuinely don't know what it is. I can't... Like that. Right, we've got Sammy and we got Garcia coming down. Starks in the ring. Both of them circling round. So I don't know which one's about to jump in. Sammy's getting up the one side. Garcia's getting up on the other. He's charging over to Garcia. Garcia goes down. Kick's coming in. Garcia kicking away. Wrestling fans are creatures of habit at this point. I don't know if there's other weekly programs that have people glued like WWE and AEW. Yeah, I think they do. I think most weekly programs do, to be honest. I mean, if, like, you know, Walking Dead was on for, like, how many years? I know a lot of people ran out of steam with it around, like, season 7, for example. I think it's hard to compare, because, like, wrestling, because obviously that's been going for so long. There's not really another show you can compare it to, like, you know. But I feel like a lot of shows over a period of several years have people that stick with them. I don't know, CSI? Guessing they've got like fans that tune into all those episodes and whatever. So I think people are creatures of habit, to be honest, rather than wrestling fans. I think it's a people thing. I think people are creatures of habit. And I think that wrestling very much plays on that. I'll never look at Starks the same way. Days, it's Bruce Forsyth. Oh, I can do a Bruce Forsyth. That's a Bruce Forsyth. Yes. Bang. Oh, easy. Easy. Who didn't do that as a kid in the UK? He was one of our top presenters. He was always like an old man, basically. Even when he looked young, he looked old. Or when he was young, he looked old. But he was like, you know, the kind of person that would do game shows. Bob Uecker type person. And yeah, I used to grow up with him doing the Generation game. That was awesome. That's got to be one of the greatest TV shows ever. Easy. They used to bring on members of the public and then set them challenges live in a studio. And then, like, you know, if you did it well, you got points, whatever. And then at the end, they had a conveyor belt of prizes, and you had to try and remember as many as possible. And then what you remembered, you got to keep for the people that got the most points, like. And that was called the Generation game. So, you know, they'd set them tasks of, like, you know, being on a potter's wheel and all this, or trying to, I don't know, do something with dogs, trying to get dogs to jump through a hoop, and the dogs would be running all over the studio. I should watch some of those, actually. I'd love to watch some Generation Game comps. Garcia is in there, and he's unloading on Starks. See, everyone, I think AEW has peaked. I stopped watching Walking Dead in season 4. It became a chore to watch. I can understand that. I mean, to be honest, I watched it all. I love that show. Love it. But, and I have said this before, I waited until they were all available to stream, because if I did watch a rubbish episode, I didn't have to wait a week. I was straight into the next one. Do you know what I mean? Oh, God. And there are plenty of slow episodes in The Walking Dead. But it didn't bother me because, like, you know, you just watch the next one. That's it. You're on to the next one. This is the advantage of, like, you know, streaming. I'd recommend, Jim, getting back into it and watching it, like, you know, on a streaming thing. I think you'd like it. If you liked it at the start, I think you'd get back into it. There's some really good stuff in there. The Whisperers and everything, like in season 9. And obviously, you know, what happens with Rick Grimes and all of that. So, yeah, there's some really good stuff in it. Quite the commitment, though, because there is like 11 seasons, but... right, I think we're at commercial break. We have got Garcia in there. Little roll-up by Starks. Against the ropes goes Starks. And again, chop coming in by Garcia. Oh, nice. Takedown, guillotine. Guillotine applied by Garcia. Starks in the middle of the ring. Fade in a little bit. It's got the dark results coming up at the bottom. You can watch on YouTube on Mondays. The boys lost. Juice Robinson was on there. Dark Order competing. Orange Cassidy competed in a trios match. Powerhouse Hobbs, I wondered where he had been. Top Flight against Butcher and Blades. Marine Sphere, Claudio, and Wheeler. Right, we've got both guys down at the moment. Referee counting away. I never saw The Walking Dead, but a lot of the cast of The Wire are in it, and that's my favourite show. Do you know what? I've never seen The Wire. Never seen The Wire. I tried to watch it. I just cannot get into it. Like, I want to, and I've watched the first few episodes. I just cannot get into it. I feel like once you're in, like, you know, maybe you have to give it the first season. Maybe it's one of those types of shows. I just cannot get into it. I'm sure once I'm into it, I'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm sure I would just be lapping it up like a little cat. Starks planting Garcia 1, 2, kick out. But yeah, I struggled with it. I love those types of shows, though. There is no reason as to why I wouldn't be able to watch it. Garcia down. It takes about 6 episodes to get into. I can believe that. I really can believe that. I've watched about 3. And honestly, I just didn't have the desire to watch the 4th. It was just like, just not into it. I have to give it another go. Shot coming in, and again. Shot coming back. Forearm strike. I mean, Breaking Bad is goated. Better Call Saul's amazing. I used to enjoy Lost, but I mean, I don't like the ending. And like the twists and the turns. Yeah. I really like Walking Dead, though. Spear by Starks. Garcia down on the edge of the ring. Of course, if he is victorious here, and I would imagine he will be, he's then going to have to try and get past Sammy Guevara. Oh, hello, mystery person in the crowd. That Jericho? It would make sense if it was Jericho. It was a Judas that he just got hit with. Someone in the crowd just hit Starks with a Judas effect. Garcia. 1, 2, 3. Well, there we go. This person's wearing a mask. They've got a Scissor Me Daddy shirt on. Who could it be? Who could it be? Oh, guys, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. Oh, my. It's only Chris Jericho. Wow. There we go. There's an Australian show called Tidelands, and that's amazing, but it only had 1 season. Okay. Sounds good. I quite fancy watching season 6 of Survivor, actually, because I found out the other day that Grayson Waller was in that from NXT. He was in season 6 of Australian Survivor, and apparently it's available on Amazon Prime. So I thought, oh, that might be quite fun to watch. I did not see that coming, said Let Him In. The thing with scripted programming is the first 3-5 episodes don't normally grab me, but they save the juicy stuff for the middle. It's true. That is true. There's a lot of shows that just takes a little bit of time to get into. The other one that I need to really give a go is Sopranos. I've never watched Sopranos. But whenever I look at like best TV lists, Wire, Sopranos are always in that top 10. It's normally topped by Breaking Bad, but Wire and Sopranos are always in that top 10. Here's Billy Gunn. Billy said, I'm going to stay in the back and I'm going to let them handle their business. Stay in the back. Me and Anthony have got this. Scissor me, daddy ass. There we go. So the old scissor in the back. So it's going to be a case that Billy Gunn is going to stay in the back. Coming up tonight, the Acclaimed take on the Guns. Roosh against Bryan Danielson coming up next. Days has never watched Strange Things. No, I've never seen Strange Things. That one doesn't grab me. I mean, the kind of shows that I would be interested in are like The Wire, Sopranos. I mean, you would think Walking Dead wouldn't really be my thing, but like, I don't mind a bit of like, this could happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit sci-fi. Like, I don't mind Star Trek. Like, I really haven't completed Next Generation, but I would like to. But like, that sort of, oh, this could happen. I don't mind those types of shows. I don't really feel that way with Stranger Things. I don't feel that this could happen vibe with Stranger Things. That's just doesn't really grab me. But I like Walking Dead. I like Star Trek and whatever. I'm not really watching anything at the moment, but I do want to get back into Star Trek. I haven't completed Next Generation, so I really want to do that. Where do you think the most likely place FTR will end up? Will it be back in AEW or back to WWE? I think they will go to WWE. I'll tell you why, because I think they can always go to AEW. I think they can always go to AEW. And I think if I'm FTR, yeah, I had a bad experience in WWE, but Triple H is booking now, not Vince. And I think that depending on how my conversations with Triple H go, And depending on what he's telling me, like, that's going to really dictate things. I think if I'm FTR, I want to go to WWE because it's the biggest platform and it's got the most eyes on it. And they're doing some really credible stuff at the moment if you look at the Bloodline and you look at Cody. So you can see a few green shoots. You can see a few things in WWE that just make you go, okay, things do seem to have changed a little bit. Could like we do something here? And it would really depend how your conversations go with Triple H. If Triple H is like, I don't know what the future looks like. I'm going to be honest with you. We're selling the company. Vince, I think, is going to want creative back. I don't know what the future looks like. You're probably not going back to WWE if that's the conversation, are you? If that's what Triple H is telling you, you are not feeling great about going back to WWE. But if Triple H says, look, I've got the book. I've been guaranteed I will be booking. I don't know what the future's going to hold in regards to a sale and what will happen then. But if we bring you in on, say, a 2-year deal, and I've got, you've got my word, I'll look after you whilst I'm in charge of the booking. What happens after that is out of my control. At that point, do you take the gamble? I would. Because I've got to think you're going to be tied to a decent contract. I've got to think that, you're just going to love life whilst Triple H is booking. And then it's a gamble in, it's a roll of the dice. What happens after that? So if I was FTR, I would be looking to go back to WWE because you can always go to AEW. 2 years down the road, AEW will have you back. And if you've just been on WWE, you're going to have a degree of star power as well. So you could argue that it will help AEW because if you've been on WWE TV, you've been on WrestleMania, you've been on SummerSlam, you've been on all these big shows, that's got to be a boost to your profile. And then you come back and that's going to be a boost to AEW. So I feel like that way, potentially everyone's winning. FTR are winning. WWE are winning. AEW ultimately could win if it doesn't work out and FTR come back. So but just don't sign long term. Yep, I agree. Dave thinks Cody leaving AEW is a blessing in disguise from a booking standpoint. Not only that, but WWE fans have been a breath of fresh air for him, says Big Time Baxter. You should watch The Last of Us. That's a great shout. I will. I have been waiting. I've been waiting for The Last of Us to have a few episodes there first before I get into it. But that is very much on my radar. Yeah, good. That's a really good shout. Okay, here's MJF making his way down. He's hobbling his way down after his match earlier, and he tells Aubrey, sweet cheeks, to wait a second. Roosh is in the ring. We did see Bryan Danielson trapped inside a room backstage. Bryan Danielson is meant to be having a match. He's not here. So MJF is going to make out that Bryan Danielson, because he's not come down to the ring, is going to have to forfeit this match. Here's my point. You need to ring this bell and start this match right now. So, Danielson has broken through the door. Danielson is running to the ring. She's up to 4. Oh, don't worry. They always count slow. Tony, don't worry about that. Tony, Tony's like, you count slow, girl. Oh, don't worry, she will. Aubrey should not be a face. What is she doing? She is the worst ref, said Krista. Danielson has made it to the ring, and we are underway. The Winchesters is the prequel of Supernatural, and that is awesome. You should watch that. Oh, I've not even heard of that. The Winchesters. Oh, hello. I'm Maggie Winchester. Anyone like knowing next week's card in advance? I don't mind knowing a few matches in advance. I would always like to know what the main event the next week is. Kick coming in by Roosh. Mitchell said that was dumb. Aubrey Edwards, presented by Prime Energy, said, I'm just doing my job, guys. Just doing my job. Kick coming in by Roosh. Danielson is down. Not in a good place. MJF has gone on to commentary. I started on season 3 of The Wire and then went backwards. And I loved it, said Eric. Okay. Could be a fun way of doing it. Watson said, this is the worst story in wrestling. The only thing saving it is match quality, says Watson. Halftime, yeah, we'll do halftime. I don't know when the next commercial break is. Chop coming in by Danielson. Another chop coming in there by Danielson. Shot fired back by Roosh. These two exchanging chops back and forth. Headbutt by Danielson. Big boot there by Danielson. Roosh against the ropes. Danielson off the ropes into a German. Aubrey is good. She messages the chat through her mind, said Blaze Radio. Peaky Blinders, that's very good. Yeah, I would recommend that. The Wire is a great show. I watch all 5 seasons once every year, says Justin. You need to watch The Wire from the start. I don't get the formula of come to WWE, be a big name, build up, then go to AEW. What is WWE gaining other than helping AEW? WWE might as well just focus on their own names. Yeah, but they are. I mean, there is no formula. There is no, this. We had this conversation the other day. Like, I don't believe that's what's Cody. I don't think that's what Cody's doing. Cody's the only one that I would say could be doing that, for example, So I don't think that it is a case of that. I mean, look, the problem you've got is that anyone that you build in WWE, anyone, if you upset them, eventually could end up going to AEW. Anyone could go to AEW. You could upset Bianca by not pushing Montez. She could have achieved everything she wants to achieve. Contract comes up, goes to AEW. You'd have no control over that. Charlotte done everything she needs to do. Wants to be back with Andrade. Tired of being like on the road and away from him. Contract comes up, goes to AEW. I don't think that you can live like your life, if you will, like thinking, oh, I'm not going to bring Cody in or I'm not going to bring FTR in. Because in a few years' time, they're just going to leave and go to AEW. Because anyone can do that at any time. So I don't agree with this being like a strategy or something along those lines. If I was FTR, I would want to go to WWE and I would want to make it work. But if I get there and I'm not treated the way that I was hoping to be treated, I know that AEW will take me back. Of course, they'll take them back. So WWE have got that issue with whoever they deal with. Homegrown talent, AEW talent. Anyone can go to AEW if they get unhappy, don't think they're being treated right, and their contract is coming up. John Moxley, for example, I mean, you'd class him potentially as homegrown, potentially. He'd done stuff on the indies, of course, before, but, he'd spent a long time with WWE. gone through NXT, gone through their developmental, came to the main roster, didn't like how he was being treated, ended up going to AEW. That's the thing. Vince only wants to build up a handful of big names to avoid the situation like Danielson where it's out of Vince's control. I also think, though, that you can only have one face of the company. Like, you can't have multiple faces because they're all going to get in each other's way. So, you know, he's gone through a period of having John Cena, and now we're going through the period of Roman Reigns. So, you know, he's got lots of stars and people that he can use in main events and circle in. But I think Vince has always only ever been interested in having one big name. You know? There's one big name. There's one person that he wants at the top, and that is Roman. Watching a Dunkin' commercial whilst the man is bleeding right next to it is awesome. Dragon is deaded. He's on the outsides. Let wrestlers go where they want and support them as long as they're happy and healthy. Who cares what promotion it is, says James. That is a lot of blood coming out of Danielson. Danielson is busted open. On the outsides. Crowder making some noise here as Takeshita rolls out the ring, grabs Danielson, hurls him into a chair. Roosh tipping some water over himself. Got Aubrey on the outsides. Legend Killer said, come on, Bryan Danielson. Justin said, always Tom and Jerry for me. Do you remember Biker Mike from Mars? I don't remember Freakazoid. I remember Biker Mike from Mars. Remember when everyone used to say Vince was wrong about Roman, said expose him. James said, I miss Miro. Yeah. Yeah, where is he? I haven't seen him in forever. Danielson back in. That's a lot of bloods. All right, now I'd imagine Brie Bella's in bits. At what point do Red Cross become a sponsor? St. John's Ambulance. Kicks coming in by Rouge. That's a lot of blood, man. Pizza. God damn. Right, Danielson in the corner. Roosh charging over. Kick coming in by Roosh. Rolls back, lies in the ring. Roosh showboat him. Danielson collapses down. I think Aubrey just checking on him. All this, and we know that Danielson is going to win, said Lone Star Friends. Does Miro still work for AEW, said Aubrey Edwards, presented by Prime Energy. Could have fooled me. Could have fueled me. MJF on commentary says that Danielson is not going to come through this. I think Tony did right by getting the women's segment out the way. The show has been formatted well. The problem with Vince's one big superstar approach is the other wrestlers feel that they were promised and or earned summer, and many of them leave when they don't get it. I don't know that many of them leave, to be honest. I mean, if you look back in history, I think people get paid very well. I think they get used around the top of the card. Some of them get given little title runs and whatever. But like, I don't know, what names did we see leave? I mean, Moxley, I'll definitely give you that. I mean, Danielson, I think, didn't leave because he wasn't the face. Danielson just wanted to wrestle proper matches and not do so much of the sports entertainment stuff. He wanted to be a wrestler. So I think there's lots of different reasons as to why people went, but I think Vince has got one big name at the top. He's got other names that he can circle in. And by and large, I think he's done a really good job of keeping people happy. Money will do that, in all fairness. Money talks. Loud. But, it is true. There's people that do slip through the cracks. But, listen, Seth is still there. Kevin Owens is still there. AJ Styles, 6-7 years down the road, is still there. None of them have left. None of them have not re-signed. They've all re-signed. So, Drew obviously was released. He came back. I don't see this like. I know Seth's a little frustrated, but he's not frustrated to the point where he's leaving. Because to be honest, where's he going to go? No disrespect to AEW, but they are getting half the views of Raw. So, he could go and maybe help build them up. But, maybe if there was another company that was as big as WWE, back in the Attitude Era, WCW, WWE, head-to-head on a Monday Night Wars, and there was, maybe then you would see some movement. But WWE are in a very fortunate position where they don't have a rival of that size. And so, people aren't willing to lose the exposure that WWE gives them, the money that WWE gives them. I think Vince has got the balance quite right. Chops coming in, kicks coming in. Mitchell said Bryan Danielson has morphed into Brother Love. I love you. Yeah, he has. He's got a very red face, hasn't he? Charging over, drop kick by Danielson. Danielson again charging over and a drop kick into Roosh. Roosh coming over, collides into Danielson. Danielson goes down. Danielson up, gets planted. 1, 2, shoulder up. I highly doubt Seth would decline because of ratings. Highly doubt Seth would decline because of ratings. What, decline going to AEW? Oh, definitely. Definitely, because his exposure right now, it's not just about the ratings, whatever. Obviously, money talks, but it's about your brand. His brand, his social media profile, his people watching him work, the awareness of him, all of that, like how visible you are is so important. It's not even just about the TV ratings. Look at how big WWE's YouTube account is. That's approaching nearly 100 million. Nearly 100 million subscribers. So even if you've just got a backstage interview that goes up there, X amount of thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to see that, that their reach on social media is stunning. It's not only that you go down to a company that's half the size of Raw. From a social media point of view, you're taking a massive hit to your brand as well. Massive hit to your brand. That exposure is so, so important. So important. It would have to be a case that Seth was just completely fed up. I think right now he's miffed that he's not the guy and that Roman's in his way, but not miffed to the point where he's not going to re-sign a contract. The exposure that WWE give him, the platform that they give him, the financial rewards that they give him. And I suppose he's comfortable as well. You can't rule out the fact he's comfortable. He is not going. I don't expect him to go anywhere. Danielson goes down. I don't think Seth is obsessed with social media followers either. I don't think, like, looking at it the right way, it's his brand. It's his how famous he is. Do you know what I mean? If you're in WWE, you're you're an A-lister. You go down to AEW, you're, sorry to say, not an A-lister. I mean, Danielson has got that following and he's got that name recognition. But in AEW, like, you're not eating at the top table. You're not one of those big names. Like MJF is their world champion. Pales into insignificance compared to Roman Reigns. Like the amount of people around the world that are watching WWE, the amount of like clicks and likes that you get on your social media compared to like, in AEW, it's night and day. I mean, it would be, you go to AEW, it's a big knock to your standing, to your fame, to your brand, as we said, What is important to Seth at this point is creativity. He would be an idiot to leave, says William. It depends on what kind of matches he wants to compete in. That's why Danielson left, wasn't it? Danielson wants to compete in proper wrestling matches, and that is very much what AEW provides. So he has done everything he wants to do. Danielson's not bothered about his brand. He is, but not bothered about like, he just wants to enjoy himself now. He's made his money. He loves being a wrestler. He just wants to, go out there and put on great wrestling matches. I don't think there's many people in that boat, though. I don't think there's too many that are in that boat that love wrestling to the point where they don't care if they're not being seen by as many people anymore, It's to be applauded, in all fairness. I mean, Danielson loves this so much that he will take that step backwards. He will move away from the bright lights of WWE, known all over the world. International, global company. He will step away from that just so that he can have great wrestling matches. Seth was on Pat's show today. No AEW start has been, says Mitchell. I wonder if on the AEW game if Excalibur will promote matches coming up like he does. That'd be good actually if you was to do like a GM mode and you set a load of matches up and you get Excalibur shouting them all out in like 5 seconds flat, so that you know what you've got coming up on your next show. That'd be quite funny. Big Time Baxter said, "Look at Sasha Banks." Now that she's doing New Japan, she doesn't feel like the big famous celebrity that she was. Same with like Mandy as well, I mean, that conversation, and, a lot of people have said she got like $1 million from just putting up some like nude pictures of herself or whatever because of the spotlight that she had. Like she'd been on the main roster. She was then down in NXT and all of this, and, $1 million odd to for her to go and do whatever it was she did, OnlyFans or whatever it was. The problem is, the longer that she's away from that spotlight, the more water that goes under the bridge. The less that people are going to want to pay to, see those pictures or go on her accounts because, a new flavor of the month will come along, won't they? A new female that catches people's attention and gets people's money instead will come along. So again, it's not a disrespectful thing to AEW. Like they are fully aware they are the second biggest promotion in North America. Like it's not a disrespect thing. They know they're in that position. The numbers tell them they're in that position. Hence why if you're in the number 1 company and you leave to go to the number 2 company, you clearly are taking a step backwards in regards to your brand. Your brand is clearly not going to get the exposure it got if you was in the number 1 company. And that would be the same for any line of work, I mean, if you leave Coke and go to Pepsi, like I've got to think you're taking a step backwards there. So it's not just a wrestling thing. It's a life thing. But credit to Danielson for wanting to do that. Right, let's do halftime scores. I know we're 20 minutes into the second hour, but might as well get them in now, see what your thoughts are. Obviously, a very hard-hitting match between Danielson and Takeshita. I do agree, though. I don't know if any of us doubted that Danielson was going to get the victory there.
Halftime scores, everybody, it's the halftime scores. I should get that recorded.
We've got some impractical jokers backstage.
Just sit here like this.
They've got Chris Jericho's bat. 775 said Mitchell. 5 said exposing. 8 says Jojo. David Paul said 8.5. Shaquem said -4. Meave said 6.5. Michael says 8. James said if Charlotte and Becky left, who do you think they would miss more? I think they would miss Becky more. I think Becky's got a stronger connection with the fans. I think that Charlotte is a big star, clearly. But Becky reached a higher height than Charlotte. You know, Becky and the man and all of that kind of stuff doesn't feel like Charlotte has ever reached that same connection with the fans. She's obviously the most decorated, but being the most decorated is something that the Office give you. So if you're the most decorated, that's something Vince has done for you. Vince has given you that many titles, right? But the connection with the fans is something that you have to really achieve yourself, and Becky achieved that. So I feel that Becky got to a higher high. I think that she's got a stronger connection with the fans as a result. But Charlotte is still legit. Still, you know, got that name recognition. And if she went to AEW, it'd be a massive monster pickup for them. It would be absolutely huge. I do think Becky would be bigger, though. I'm sure there must be some numbers. Obviously, you know, I mean, I don't look into it, but if you was to look into like YouTube views and merch sales, my gut feeling is that Becky would be ahead of Charlotte. 7 says Big Time Baxter. 7 says Legend Killer. 7 says Let Him In. Exposing said 5 pints of blood out of 10. For someone like Sasha, who had potential to be the next Rock or Cena as far as Hollywoods, this feels like a big leap backwards. Well, I mean, I don't know. Only she knows. I just don't think she was happy in WWE. I mean, she kept having to take breaks away, didn't she? She was like constantly having to step away, and I just don't think she could carry on. I mean, from a brand point of view, it might not have been the right move to have left. But as Danielson shows, like you get, I think I heard the other day, I could be wrong, the average male's life is about 600,000 hours. Something like that, right? 600,000 hours. That's about it. That's the average male man's life is 600,000 hours. And when you actually think about it in that regard, and then you take away X amount of hours for sleeping, X amount of hours for pooping, X amount of hours for, you know, having dinner, and you actually look with the amount of time that you've got left out of that 600,000 hours, why would you want to spend any of that time not being happy? If you look at it that way, then you can kind of maybe understand a bit better as to why Sasha couldn't stay with WWE anymore. And even if, like, for her brands, it wasn't the best of moves, ultimately, if she is enjoying her life, she's made money. She's got loads of money. She ain't hurting for money. And I'm sure she's got options as well. So if she's enjoying her life now and is happy now, it's got to be more important, hasn't it, than staying with WWE, where I don't think she was happy. She never seemed to be happy. AR Fox should team with his stunt double, Anthony Bowens. Get rid of Max Caster, said Tim. Okay, Elite against Top Flight and AR Fox. Is it me or did a lot of people get up and leave? I can't say I saw a lot of people get up and leave. It coming in by Fox, is it? No. Dante, nice drop kick. Crotch chop. Why isn't Kenny chasing the championship, giving MJF a black eye and pursuing a singles career, said Jilly. It's a good question. No, I mean, his match at Wrestle Kingdom was so good. It was so good that you do look at that match and just think, why can't we get things like that in AEW? That's what people signed up for. People signed up for AEW to be like sports presentation and New Japan-esque. And I suppose in a way you can say that it is, but I don't know, man. That match he has with Ospreay is just so impressive. Really, really impressive. I don't feel like we've got those types of matches out of him in AEW. It might be that it took a lot for him to provide a performance of that level. And so, week by week basis, he's just going to be in the elite whatever. But it's true. I don't know what we're building towards with him. Don't know quite where we're going. If he's just going to stay with this trio thing for a while for the rest of this year, or what we're doing. I wish as well they had a big show outside. See, like something to build towards. Like I know we do build towards their live events, their pay-per-views. But they just never feel as big as like a Wrestle Kingdom. They don't have a WrestleMania. People ask quite often, what's their WrestleMania? And you'll say, well, it's Double or Nothing, or it's All In, or it's something along those lines. I think they really could do with like some sort of stadium show, even if it's Arthur Ashe and it's 20-odd thousand, but it's outside and they can make it feel big. Lovely sweeping shots and just make it feel big, We've done Arthur Ashe. We know we can do 20,000. Said before, is there not like a 30,000? There must be. Must be a 30,000 stadium. There must be like a soccer stadium that can hold 30,000. Let's try 30. I understand you're not going to go to 70. Maybe you wouldn't do 40, but I feel that we've done some rumbles in baseball stadiums that have been 40 that have looked amazing. Again, could you get those numbers? I don't know. I really don't know. If you booked a 40,000 baseball stadium, put on a monster card, built to it, it was your WrestleMania. Like, could you do something along those lines? I just think that would be, I feel like we build towards a pay-per-view, but it doesn't feel like the big deal that it should. Like, I think we're building towards Revolution in the start of March. It's like, yeah, we don't get them that often, so it's good for that reason. But, like, imagine if it was kickoff show and, we had a stadium and they were doing, like, an access thing, and it was this big thing, like WrestleMania. A struggle to break 15. WWE dominate the market. Yeah, but they did Arthur Ashe, didn't they? I mean, that's all I'm basing it on. I think if you book the venue and build it and, put on a big card and make a big deal out of it and do like, meet the wrestlers, kind of event, AEW shop access type thing, and who knows, just like make it the place to be if you're an AEW fan. Like, what I don't know what that number would be. It could have been like a WrestleMania Woodstock, said Michael. Kenny had a fantastic run as AEW champion, going into different promotions. It's not something we see often, and he did have some good matches, says Luke. I don't feel, though, that he had matches the caliber of what we saw in New Japan. Well, the stuff that I've seen Kenny doing in New Japan is stuff that's, is stuff that's like 5 stars. I mean, he had some good matches when he was champion. I do agree. I just don't think that we ever got to the New Japan level. And, there's been a few conversations as to why, and is he working a different style? And, there was a lot of talk about him coming out saying that he's been wrestling with vertigo. Do you remember that? Like, the ring was spinning. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, that's why. That's why the matches haven't been quite that level. Because he came out and provided this, and everyone's like, right, makes sense. But I sort of feel like, well, I think he's got that treated now, and we can't escape what he just did at Wrestle Kingdom. So I would love to see him go solo, and for us to build to a big show, and for him to be the main event, and be on that card, and to build it all up. And I feel like we're just a little way away from that at the moment. Matt Jackson in there with Darius. AEW don't have a performance center, says Melissa. No, do they still use the Nightmare Factory, or have they moved on from that? I don't know. With Cody not around, they might have moved on from that. I don't know. They used to use that, I know. Against the Ropes, Spanish Fly. Didn't AEW trademark Wrestle Bowl? I didn't see that. I don't know. Obviously, I mean, Craven Cottage. I don't know where we are in London when they come to London, but Craven Cottage is one that everyone keeps talking about. That's the Fulham Stadium. So that could be a monster show for them. I'd imagine it will be. Omega in the corner. Fox grabs him. They both roll. Lovely into a cutter. That was nice. QT still uses it for his wrestlers, says to heel. Matt said, AEW, by having their faces and heels objectively enter from their respective sides, still annoys me. It's too locked in. It leaves no room for subjectivity. I mean, they've done away with the tunnels. So, faces coming out of one side, heels coming out of the other. I don't know. It's not something that's ever bugged me too much, to be honest. I do like... Yeah. It would be better if it was just one entrance. I don't disagree. It's not something that bothers me. It's not something I ever pay attention to, really. Like, oh my God, that face person has just come out the heel tunnel. I've never paid attention to that. I actually don't know which one was the heel tunnel, which one was the face tunnel. That's how little I paid attention to it. And again, if they come out of a certain side now, I don't pay attention to it. Is there a heel side? Is there a face side? I don't need that, though. I don't need to know that the right side is the face side, the left side is the heel side, and for that to be a thing. Like, I don't need that. So if that's something that, plays on your mind, I could understand that being a frustration. But I honestly, I couldn't even tell you what side was what. It doesn't play any bearing into my watching of the show. If you really wanted AEW to sell out stadiums, I feel like the fall of 2021 was peak. Could you think of a time in recent months that touches popularity in 2021? I think I wouldn't look at it that way, to be honest. I wouldn't look at it like, oh, if you was going to do it, that time's been and gone. Like, you can't really run a business that way. You just have to, like, build for it, don't you? You just have to get your eggs in one basket, get your ducks lined up and go for it. So I sort of think that, right now, wasn't it last year they were on a good run with like million, and they were seemingly having a good like run of it. So I don't know. I just sort of think like, you go through hot and cold spells in wrestling. Not like if you're in a cold spell, you're never going to be hot again. Just got to get a good creative stories going. You know, you just got to do some really good booking. Over the top, Matt has got all three members of the other team down. Kick out. Mitchell said, we've not seen New Japan Kenny in AEW. When Kenny is announced in New Japan, it sounded awesome. Kenny Omega. Kind of one now with the setup. Hard to watch side to sides. Tag. We're into the final 25 minutes here. Over the top. Boom, DDT. Going for the cover. 1, 2. And save made. Sheamus Gunther, Clash at the Castle pay-per-view is on a movie app now, said Melissa. That was a great match. Why does WWE have tag ropes? Have to have tag ropes? Get rid of them. Oh, that's been in wrestling forever. The tag rope. That's been a rule in wrestling for a long time. Hold on to the tag rope when you make that tag. Are you excited for the contract signing between Brock and Bobby? Not really. Kick out by the Bucks. That match doesn't massively excite me. We've seen it a few times before. It's never been any great shakes, you know? The front flip going backwards. Used to love doing that on a trampoline, says Tahil. We've got, this is awesome chance. Kenny trying to grab AR Fox. Lovely suplex. Dragon suplex by Kenny. Dante Martin comes crashing down onto Kenny. Big boot coming in by Darius. We've got all 6 in the ring right now. Super kick. Over the top. Nice sliced breads. Good work so far by Matt Jackson. On the ropes. Over. That wasn't smooth. 1, 2. And the mate save. Meltzer on The Observer talks about AEW has seen a mass exodus of 18 to 49s since Triple H took over. It's been a reason why they've only done 1 million once since September. I don't think their booking's very good at the moment, though. I mean, yeah, you can definitely point to Triple H taking over as that being an increase in intrigue in WWE. But I do also think that potentially that resulted in Bray's return. Which obviously White Rabbit got a lot of attention. Bray coming back got a lot of attention. Then Sammy did an interview the other day where he said he never actually got to be on screen with Roman until Triple H took over. And he said as soon as he got on screen with Roman a lot, that's when the Bloodline story really took off. So I feel like Triple H taking over got intrigue. And then as a result of that, there's been a few things that he's done that has kind of kept people around. But, whatever WWE are doing shouldn't be to the detriment of AEW because they're on different nights. If AEW had a red hot show with red hot stories and really good, if they had their own Bloodline Sammy story, they had their own White Rabbit campaign, it wouldn't matter that Triple H was in charge. It wouldn't matter. AEW would keep those viewers, and the people would choose to watch both. People just want to watch good content. That's it, isn't it? They just want to watch good stuff. So if WWE is providing good stuff, it shouldn't be that people watch that and don't watch AEW. The harsh reality is that AEW's content at the moment, and for quite a while now, has not been as good as it used to be. It's not been as good. And I feel like MJF and Jamie becoming champions was a bit of a refresh. But it doesn't seem like that is resulting in like really compelling stories. The story that MJF is in at the moment is making Danielson run this gauntlet, having matches every week, but everyone knows that he's going to do that and he's going to succeed. There was very little drama in the way of that match for me tonight, for example. I just don't think that's a good story. I don't think that story is compelling. And I don't even know what story Jamie's involved in at the moment. I suppose the one with Saraya, where we just saw Saraya and Tony Storm spray painting Leva Bates. Is that a compelling story? Has that got you on the edge of your seat? Can you wait to see where that's leading? I just don't think it's not good enough. It's not good enough. That's the harsh reality, is that AEW storytelling at the moment is not as good as it used to be. It's not that they're not doing some decent stuff. They are telling some decent stuff. The Ricky Stark stuff was good. But I feel like since he got with Jericho, that's just not felt as compelling. On Rampage, gonna hear from Mark Briscoe. That might get some viewers for Rampage. AEW Tag Team Title Match main event coming up. A lot of people saw AEW as an alternative and an escape from Vince. Now that they feel optimistic about the product, they don't need to watch AEW as frequently anymore. I don't believe that. Don't believe it. I do not believe it. I understand that people may have tuned into AEW because WWE was not giving them what they were looking for. And that's why they tune into AEW. If AEW continued to give them what they were looking for, they would stay. They wouldn't walk away from AEW and go back to WWE if the AEW product was red hot. Well, of course they wouldn't. Of course they wouldn't. I understand that tribalism does exist in wrestling. Of course it does. We see that, right? But that is not going to explain hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people like leaving AEW and going back to WWE. I think this narrative of people walking away from WWE because they hate Vince's booking, now it's Triple H, now we're going to go back. I just, no, I don't buy it. Don't buy it at all. If AEW was red hot with their storytelling, people would stay. People want to watch good content. People want to watch good wrestling. I want to watch compelling stories. They wouldn't turn their back on AEW just because like Vince has gone now. So, yeah, this is really good and I really enjoy it. And I love these wrestlers and these stories, but I can't watch anymore. I just don't buy that. Do not buy that. People would still tune in to both because there's no need to choose. If it was on at the same time, then I think there would be a conversation. Then I think there would be a conversation to be had. If it was a case of like, well, you've got to choose between Dynamite or Raw, you've got to choose one or the other, then I could see that being a conversation. But not when they're on different nights. Not when they're on different nights. On a Wednesday night, you're telling me people aren't watching Dynamite because they've now chosen WWE instead. No. Not if the show was red hot. If AEW was red hot and it had good stories and compelling stuff, it would not matter what WWE were doing. It would not matter what they were doing because people would watch both. AEW can improve their ratings even with Triple H in charge. They can improve their ratings, but they've got to tell better stories. Got to tell better stories. I don't believe there's anyone in AEW sat there right now. I don't believe there's anyone sat there that's going, there's nothing we can do. People aren't watching us anymore because Triple H is in charge and they've decided to go back to WWE. Nothing we can do. I don't believe that's what they're saying. They are obviously focused on improving their ratings, getting a better TV deal. And to be honest, I'm surprised they're not putting out a better product. I'm surprised the AEW product is not stronger than it is, because if they're trying to get a better TV deal, I would think that they would put a better product out than this. A lot of this has felt very predictable to me. A lot of this has lacked drama. As I said, like the Danielson story, for example, I think that's really weak. I don't think that's very compelling at all. He's got to beat a load of people, which he's going to beat. He's going to beat. They're going to be decent matches, and the matches have been good. But, like, if you know what the result's going to be, it does take a little bit away. It's not the be-all and end-all, as we've said before about with Mankind winning the title. People knew the result there. They still changed the channel. But, like, it does take a little bit away. Here's the Acclaimed. Okay. Who wins in a nightstick fatal 4-way? The Mountie, the Boss Man, Nails, or ex-con Dom? Do you know what? It's got to be the Boss Man, innit? There ain't no one that's ever held or commanded a nightstick as good as what he did. He's the GOAT. What if casuals just want to digest one? What casuals just want to digest one, though? What casuals just want to digest one? Who are these casuals? Who are these people? Who are they? Who are these people that are like, I'm only going to watch one wrestling show. I'm going to watch AEW. Oh, Triple H is back now, so I'm going to watch that instead now. This is my one wrestling show I'm watching. Just don't buy it. It's just a load of Twitter nonsense. I think this tribalism kind of makes you think that's what people are thinking, that you've got to choose a side and people are choosing a side. Load of rubbish. You've got your AEW hardcores that, definitely felt disillusioned with WWE. And so, they got behind AEW. But if WWE now gets better, gets more credible, then those people will go back and start watching WWE. But if AEW is still good, they will still watch AEW. I'm adamant on this point. Maybe you could find someone that really loves AEW but has decided to turn their back on it because Triple H is booking WWE. Maybe there's someone out there. There ain't hundreds and thousands of people doing that, though. You know what I mean? Who's not watching good? Who's turning their back on good content, good wrestling content, just because they only want to support one brand? I just don't think. I ain't buying it. Travis said you can thank Meltzer for this side choosing. Beep. FTR haven't been on AEW TV for a while, said WWE and AEW fan. What if casuals just want to digest one? The trap AEW put themselves in is a lack of interest leads to people cutting the cords like TBS. But this has got nothing to do with WWE, though. This is my point. My point is that if there is a lack of interest in AEW, that's because AEW are not putting out a good enough product. That's exactly my point. That's my point. AEW struggling to get to 1 million is because of AEW. Yes, I agree that WWE putting out stronger products definitely makes things harder because all of a sudden AEW looked really good when WWE was rubbish. If WWE start putting out stuff like The Bloodline and Sammy and White Rabbit, then, people will look at AEW and go, how does that compare now? Right? But if the AEW product is good, well, it's going to compare very well, isn't it? It's going to be comparable. If it's not, then that's where people will be like, I don't need this. I don't need that. It's not doing it for me anymore. I like what they're doing now. I don't need to see Bianca and Alexa for the umpteenth time, said Davids. Do you think Billy Gunn will reunite with his sons? That was the talking point earlier. What will Billy Gunn do? He could come down and reunite with his kids. I mean, he is staying out the way for now. He's backstage, so we'll have to wait and see what he decides to do. Does get the feeling that he's going to get involved somehow. There is a feeling that something's going to go down here. I'm not expecting a clean finish to this one. Do you like Spider-Man? Said Corey. Not massively, no. I've never sat down and watched any of the films. Spider-Man wasn't really around when I was young. I mean, it was a comics, but I never read any comics of that kind of stuff. And I don't think there was any films, certainly none that I saw. Was there a cartoon? Maybe, but I never saw it. I was more into Batman. The Batman films when I was young was big. Superman was pretty big as well, but I never liked Superman. I was never into Superman. I was always more into Batman than Superman, if you had to choose one. So yeah, Spider-Man never really grabbed me. Mitchell, shout out to you. Mitchell said, in a lot of ways, lots of us are jaded. All wrestling is only to tell a story we see on a screen. Sometimes as fans, we see bits of news and it makes us the problem. We become overly judgmental. I feel like there's a bit to break down there. All wrestling is only to tell the story we see on screen sometimes. Every bit of news makes us the problem. We become overly judgmental. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a lot simpler than what people think. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is really simple, and it can get made overly complicated. Like, if you put out a good show, people will watch it. I mean, that's true of anything. If you've got a good, compelling show, people will watch it. And there is a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about tribalism. There's a lot of talk about ratings. There's a lot of talk about contracts. There's a lot of talk about backstage drama. The end result is still exactly the same, though. If you put on a good TV show that grabs people's attention and that people are genuinely excited to see what's going to happen next week, people will tune in. So I don't disagree. I think there's a lot of noise in the wrestling world from every angle. You know, not only is what you see in the ring getting reviewed, but you've got contracts, you've got like TV deals coming up, you've got rumors, you've got spoilers, you've got injuries, you've got so much stuff. Shots coming in by Bowens. Bowens going wild here. Elbow to the side of the head, raining down. He's raining down a few elbows here. Yeah, I think it's a good point, Mitchell. I think it's a good point. I think it's, sometimes you just can't see the wood for the trees. It's just so much numbers, data, talk. It's hard to it's hard to see like what's going on sometimes with like the shows and the direction and all this kind of stuff because of just like all the drama outside the ring. I mean, look at some of the biggest stuff that's happened in AEW hasn't been the direction of the show. It's been the media scrums and CM Punk and the Elite getting kicked out and all this kind of stuff. That's been some of the biggest talking points. And some of that, I think, at times can overshadow the shows as well, which is a problem. MJF walking out, for example, that was the big talking point, wasn't it? Not so much like the stories that are happening on the show. I mean, I feel like the MJF one was a story, but that obviously was something that meant he went away for quite a while. And then we were left with having to try and book a show without him, and also without Kenny, and also without the Elite, and also without Danielson being injured, and Adam Cole being injured, and been a lot of like dramas and everything, which at times has been more compelling than the show. The wrestling is gonna cut it. People want wrestling, but they want storytelling. What are you doing that's making people say, I want to tune in next week? That's the goal. Yeah, I agree. I agree big time. That's completely the goal. What is that compelling story? What is that cliffhanger? Just like any good TV show. You know, you should end an episode going, oh man, I cannot wait for next week. Austin Gunner's got a belt. He goes to use it. Billy Gunner's come down. Oh, he gets nailed. Billy Gunn got nailed by his own kids. So if they are working together, that's a weird way of showing it. So Billy Gunn gets nailed by his kids with the belts. The Acclaimed are unloading here. South Park, season 26 tonight, said Tim. Elite and Punk stuff led to AEW getting a 5-week streak over 1 million. Intrigue was there. They didn't hook them, said Big Time Baxter. Elbow drop. Should be a turn, said Mitchell. I don't know what they're doing with this. They killed the swerve, said Zoom. Blaze said, I know higher ratings is more money, but does AEW need 1 million? They are a top-rated show on the channel every week, it seems. And can we really expect them to rate anywhere near WWE? No, it's a really good point. The only thing I would say to that is that you want to see your ratings not getting stagnant, because the risk you run is that if your product is holding at 800,000, there's a chance that it goes down, isn't there? There's a chance that like people just like, just not feeling it anymore. And then, you know, you start to lose. All of a sudden, your 800,000 that you add now is 750. And, you know, like even though your product is holding people, over time, you would imagine people will drift. Guns pick up the win here. So we got new tag team champs. So obviously, you know, if you're able to get it up to 1 million, if their attention does drift or you do lose some people, you dip down to the 900,000s. If you're holding in the 850,000 range, if people do walk away, you dip down to, you know, into the 700s. Then you don't want to be trending in that direction. So I don't think it's a case of like, oh, they should be up there with Raw or anything like this. But you do want to see some compelling stories that bump the ratings up, that just give them that cushion so that if they do drop back down, and I'm sure they would, of course, she can't stay up there forever, but it allows them to kind of fluctuate between 1 million and 900,000 rather than 800,000 and 700,000. Like, just don't want to run the risk of it getting stagnant. It's a good point, though. You know, AEW, should they just be happy with their own little niche and just being like the top-rated show on cable? So the Gun Club are the new AEW tag champs. Why are they not celebrating? They should be beside themselves. Celebrate. You've just won the tag belts. Well, I don't get why they're not celebrating. They're just walking up the entrance ramps quietly. Everyone's so somber. It's like a funeral. Surely they should be like screaming, celebrating, jumping around. They don't care if they've just hurt the Acclaimed. And the Acclaimed aren't even hurt. Like, I could understand if one of them was down and not moving. Boos from the crowd. Obviously, they're not happy with the way that the Guns have just won the belts. BS chants. Excalibur said, you have to imagine this is not the end of the story. I mean, his kids nailed him. So I can't imagine he's going to turn on them. They play the Acclaim. I don't know what I'm watching here. I'm literally just watching the three of them in a ring, just like standing there. The ending of this is really weird. The ending of that show is so strange. I don't mind the Guns winning, but I have no idea why the Guns weren't celebrating. I got no idea why the camera just stayed on three guys looking dejected in the ring, just having like a little chat amongst themselves. Really felt like they were under the impression the show maybe had already ended or something. Weird. Ending was bad, said Lance. That ruined the show. It's just weird. Really weird. I have no problem with the Guns winning the titles. You know, it's a story in it. Don't mind that at all. Just seemed a weird ending. A bit botched, do you think? Yeah, maybe. Like a production botch. Like maybe they thought they'd thrown to like a video package or something. I don't know. Kind of feels like they should have. Kind of feels like they should have gone to like a little package showing matches coming up next week instead of showing the Acclaimed in the ring and the crowd chanting BS and I don't know. Weird. What do you score this week's AEW? 8-10. Not mad that the Guns won. Mad Billy didn't turn. If you're going to go out the titles on the Guns, then have Billy turn. 5, 7, 5, 4 feet low. Boom. The crowd hated that, said Rowdy. They didn't enjoy it. 7, it was still decent, said Big Time Baxter. Something was surely supposed to happen. They looked confused, like they didn't want to do. Seemed to walk up the ramp and back down again for no reason. I 100% agree. Something about that ending did not go right. If it turns out, yeah, that's what we booked, you'd be like, well, why did you book that? Why did you book the Guns cheating their way to victory, not celebrating, backing their way up the ramp looking confused? Then in the ring, you've got the Acclaimed. They're just chatting amongst themselves, really. Like, obviously dejected. Crowd are chanting like BS, but it's weird because the way the crowd are chanting BS, it's not like the crowd are chanting BS and they're really angry and it's like a big dramatic end to the show. There just seems to be this air of confusion around everyone. Everyone just seems confused. The whole ending just seemed confused. The Guns seemed confused. The Acclaimed seemed confused. The crowd seemed confused. Like, this is how we're ending the show type thing. Just like this. Even the BS chant was like, meh, 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 meh. Like, wasn't this full-throated, we're about to riot, oh my God, can you believe this has happened and the show comes to an end, you know? It's not like, oh my God, I bet they're kicking off now. Like, everyone just seemed to like stop, look around and be just like, what's going on? Like, really confused. Very strange ending. Very strange. But Guns winning is all right. I don't mind Guns winning, as many have said. My thoughts on this show, I don't think this is a very good show, to be honest. I think that like the Danielson match is, you know, amazing. He digs deep. He's covered in bloods. I don't think he needs to go that far in that match. I just don't, you know, you see so many matches where they use blood, and I just don't think they need to go to it on as regular basis as what they do. And that match in particular, like, I just don't think it needed it. I just think, you know, MJF locking the door is, you know, I don't mind it so much because that's the kind of thing I could imagine MJF doing. Danielson beats the count. And then he has a good match. But at no point did I think Danielson was going to lose that match. I didn't think he was going to lose. Young Bucks have never really done it for me, to be honest. So Young Bucks matches just don't really ever grab me. I can see that why people would like them, though. So, I mean, I'm sure people got something out of that match. Jamie Hayter match was all right. All right. And I'm trying to think what else we saw, to be honest. The MJF promo I just thought was weird backstage, talking about some girl smashing her head on his windscreen, whatever. I was like, just found that a bit weird. It was all right. I don't think it's a disaster. I don't think this is like a 2 or anything like that, but like, I must admit, like, this is the sort of show that I can really understand people like not being bothered about tuning in next week for, you know. I can understand it. I can understand like why the ratings are just a bit they're all right. The ratings are still decent for AEW. I just feel like they could be better. They have been better. And I feel like they could be better. And I feel like the show could be better. And it has been better as well. That's the other frustrating thing. So I feel like we've said for a long time, they're just in a bit of a slump. They'll come out of it. I feel like we've said that for a while now. We'll see. It was a confusing show. It looked like they missed a time cue, said Big Time Baxter. They probably went to the finish a bit too early. Love the Danielson match. Bucks was great. Acclaimed should have won, said Grant. It was better than Roman not defending on weekdays, said J-Boy. The Jamie Hayter match ended quick because Bunny hurt her shoulder. Brenton said, I'm glad they didn't have Billy Gunn turn. Hopefully they don't have him turn at all. Always Big O said, ending aside, it was a banger Dynamite. He's got WWE brain. Love ya. Each to their own. Each to their own. Justin said the Impractical Jokers segment wasn't needed. That was a boring few minutes. Grim said solid 8 for the night. An 8. Cornette will have fun with this show, said Kenny. You need a hot start and a hot ending, says Rowdy Scarlet. Takeshita match was good, said Mitchell. William, shout out to you. William said maybe AEW just said, why try? Let's just take people's money. It's the Booker. He doesn't know what he's doing, said Serge. The Impractical Jokers part was the best bit, says Mang. Tony Khan needs to hire Heyman for booking. Jojo said, I give it a 3. I really feel like this is a show, just judging by what people are saying and some of the scores coming in, I feel like this is a show that has divided opinion. I feel like we're seeing a lot of different scores on the scale here, or certainly what people are putting in, you know. Mitchell said, I'm going to go 6.5. Jilly said, I love AEW, but this show was a 6.25 for me. MJF was the best part, says let him in. Could Ibushi come to AEW? Well, he could do. I think he'd be a good addition. Rock and Sock said, I didn't enjoy this one. I give it 5.5. Bryan said, people act like they know every finish. They know every move. This is all I really see when people talk about most matches. Dynamite can't do anything wrong. It's perfect. Come on now, said James. Legend Killer said, great stream. Tony made some dumb booking decisions, said Wilds. Prime example would be the last match, said Bryan. Elliot said, I love this show. I'm going to give it a 9 to 10. Meng said it's wrestling you would see at Blackpool's Winter Gardens. I love Blackpool's Winter Garden. I went there to watch the NXT UK tournament where they crowned the first champions. Had a lovely time. I can't give this more than a 3, said Exposing. Shaquem said it's a 5 for me. William said, to be honest, the show was fine. I was entertained. It was just that nothing really happened. Yep, let's have a look, shall we, at the scores? Do you know what? Yeah. Here's the 138 votes. And look at that. 31% went 7 to 7.5. 25% said 5.75 or below. 22% were in the 6s. And 20% were in the 8 to 10. That's what I'm saying. Like, I really feel like this show really divided opinion. But you know what? I mean, fair play. Fair play. If you watched it and you didn't enjoy it, I can understand why. If you watched it and you thought it was all right, I can understand why. And if you watched it and you really enjoyed it, I can understand why. I can see why. I mean, I can see why people would watch this and enjoy it because it had a lot of big names on the show. The Danielson match was impressive. It was impressive. Takeshita against MJF was decent. We got a title change at the end, so that's a bit of an OMG moment. Like, Jamie Hayter was on the show as well. Like, crowd were pretty hot and vocal. So, from that regard, I can see why people would look at it and go, I loved it. I had a great time. Then equally, I can see why people could, say they didn't enjoy it as well. So, yeah, it seems like people are really split on this one. And as I said, I can understand why. But it's done. It's in the books. And we move on. So that was this week's AEW. So appreciate people joining us. Don't forget, we are going to be back tomorrow with a member stream. We are going to be back on Friday with SmackDown. Then, of course, we've got UFC and everything this weekend. So plenty on the way. Right. Appreciate people joining us, as always, of course. And I hope you have a great evening doing whatever you're doing. Bye for now.